Chapter 1797. Several opponents to tire him out. Lin Feng looked at Ji Wuyo. He looked so proud and arrogant. Lin Feng smiled indifferently and mockingly. He wanted to fight against Tiantai alone? Since the first student Ji Wuyo wants to display his strength, it would be impolite to decline. Brothers, let's all fight against the first student of the university, said Lin Feng calmly. Tiantai's members looked at him oddly. They were going to fight against him, one after another? Brothers, I'll determine the order. Don't stop. Tiantai, you start, said Lin Feng, smiling indifferently. He used telepathy to communicate with Tiantai's members at that moment. Today, we don't need to defeat Ji Wuyo. We just need to show Champion University how strong we are. Therefore, let's fight one after the other. No need to be polite. Fight as hard as you can. All right, nodded Tiantai, nodding before he jumped onto the battle stage. Lin Feng's voice was still resonating in his brain. Use your full strength, no need to be polite. All right, Tiantai smiled. He released his lion spirit, and at the same time, he released all his strength, which exploded into the air. His energies rose to the skies. You want to die? Shouted Ji Wuyo. His cyan dragon totem rose up in the air. More dragons emerged from his fists. He was powerful and dangerous. Roar! A gigantic tower crushed down from the sky. Tiantai's lions roared furiously and blotted out the sun and the sky. Ji Wuyo was surprised. Tiantai dared go for a collision? The dragons which emerged out of his arms roared furiously, colliding with the lions and destroying them. Tiantai punched out with his fists. 1,000,000 lions appeared in the sky. Ji Wuyo's eyes twinkled with cold lights. He rose up in the air, cyan rays shrouding everything. He waved his arms and more dragons appeared. They seemed like they could rend the heavens and earth. The dragons chanted and made the air shake. Powerful explosive energies surged out. The crowd thought that Tiantai was insane. He was attacking with an indomitable will, and didn't even flinch. Dong! Tiantai was pounded by Ji Wuyo's attacks. Lin Feng's eyes twinkled and he said, Next battle, Swan, go. Bzz. Swan understood. He immediately jumped onto the stage. Tiantai retreated instantly. The members of Ji Chang's club were furious and said to Yuan Ho, The battle isn't over? Isn't it over now? Asked Lin Feng calmly. Tiantai had jumped off the battle stage. Since Ji Wuyo wants to fight against everyone, we accept. Wait and you'll see, said Yuan Ho icily. At that moment, Swan turned into a gigantic legendary beast. Just like Tiantai, he immediately attacked Ji Wuyo. The earth and the sky shook violently. However, even though Swan's physical body was extremely powerful, he still couldn't compete with Ji Wuyo. After a few clashes he had clearly lost. E.g. Shimen Qiuming, get ready to fight, said Lin Feng calmly. E.g. jumped onto the stage. He didn't give Ji Wuyo any time to breathe. He immediately started battling against him like a madman. Ji Wuyo could only release his energies again. However, Ji Wuyo was very strong. Even after having fought against two people, his chi was still very powerful. His blood was boiling, his dragons kept chanting, and his cyan dragon totem was dazzling. Thus the third, fourth and fifth battles passed by. Even though E.g., Shimen, and Qiuming were extremely strong, they couldn't compete with Ji Wuyo, and in the end they were defeated. However, the battles were getting longer for Ji Wuyo. After so many battles against so many strong cultivators, it was getting difficult, he was getting tired. Qingfeng, the sixth one is yours, go and practice on him, said Lin Feng, nodding at Qingfeng. Qingfeng moved in a blur, and suddenly, 8 sorts of cosmic energies appeared, astonishing the crowd. Qingfeng is a genius from the animal clan in the vast celestial ancient city. She's almost always with Lin Feng, and she controls 8 sorts of cosmic energies, thought the crowd in amazement. Lin Feng was stupefied too. Qingfeng could control 8 sorts of cosmic energies now? Her cosmic energies exploded in the air and crackled through the sky. Qingfeng was powerful. Qingfeng's evolution power is fearsome. As expected, her cosmic energies are evolved versions. They're even more powerful than normal ones, thought Lin Feng. The crowd gulped as they watched. Lin Feng was making Tiantai's people practice against Ji Wuyo. All of them were extremely strong. None of them were weak. The crowd wondered how the ranking list had changed. Brother, you're next. Lin Feng smiled at Tianqi. Ji Wuyo wanted to prove how strong he was, no problem. They were happy to take advantage of it. Tianqi looked at Lin Feng and smiled deeply. After a short time, Qing Feng lost, but she had amazed everybody. Tianqi jumped onto the battle stage, using his sentient being's Buddhist enlightenment again, and chanted mantras in a clear, melodious, pure, deep, and far-reaching Brahma voice. Palm strikes kept raining down on Ji Wuyo. Mantras pierced through his eardrums. His facial expression changed drastically under the assault, truly furious now. Ji Wuyo is getting angry. He can't control himself anymore, said the people watching Tianqi and Ji Wuyo's battle. Tianqi had become extremely strong. Even though his Buddha shadows were being destroyed one after another, his Buddha hands still crashed onto Ji Wuyo's body. In the end, Ji Wuyo defeated Tianqi. However, Ho Qing Lin immediately jumped onto the stage, releasing reincarnation energies which surrounded Ji Wuyo's body, and Ji Wuyo felt the danger. His cyan dragon totem didn't look as dazzling. His qi had become weak. He wasn't standing as steadily as before, and Ho Qing Lin was using his Ahsoka reincarnation strength. The cyan dragons roared. They attacked the reincarnation energies, but Ho Qing Lin's reincarnation sword energies were still there. Through it all, Ho Qing Lin looked calm and serene. Suddenly, dazzling lights appeared and Ho Qing Lin turned into a million light beams, like Tianqi's sentient being's Buddhist enlightenment attack. Evolution. Lin Feng and the others who had studied the celestial evolution holy scriptures were astonished. Ho Qing Lin had surprisingly already mastered a rudimentary version of the sentient being's Buddhist enlightenment. He could turn into Buddha shadows. Millions of Ahsoka reincarnation sword lights appeared. Ji Wuyo was staring at them and grimaced. "Stop!" shouted Yuan Ho furiously. The lights instantly disappeared. Ho Qing Lin was standing in the air, looking at Yuan Ho as he recalled his energies. "Your people are taking turns in fighting Ji Wuyo to tire him out. Is that a fair way of battling?" demanded Yuan Ho icily. "Ridiculous," said Lin Feng mockingly. "He's the first student, and he said he wanted to fight against everyone. Now that he can't fight anymore, you think that shouting is enough to stop the duels? He's weak and lost, and now you got involved. How ridiculous," taunted Tantai. The crowd studied the strong cultivators from Tiantai, especially the core members. They were all incredibly strong. "Brother, come back," said Lin Feng, smiling indifferently. Ho Qing Lin went back to his friends and left Ji Wuyo alone. Ji Wuyo could only stare at them. At that moment, Lin Feng jumped up and landed on the battle stage. The crowd was stunned. Lin Feng wanted to fight now. Ji Wuyo couldn't win in such circumstances. Lin Feng rose up in the air and looked at Ji Wuyo from above. He said indifferently, "Go back and have a rest. I don't want to bully a weakling." "Just wait here for a short while," retorted Ji Wuyo icily. He really needed to rest for a short while. That way, he'd be sure to win. Many members of Ji Cheng's club haven't fought yet. Won't they fight? Go down and let them fight. I'll fight against all of them, even if you use the same tactic as I did, one after another without any pause, even all together at the same time. I don't mind. We don't talk shit in Tiantai. Of course, nobody will shout to stop the battles either," said Lin Feng indifferently, mockingly glancing at Yuan Ho. Lin Feng could do what Ji Wuyo hadn't managed to do. He could defeat all the members of Ji Cheng's club without any pause, even all at one time. Ji Wuyo clenched his fists. Crackling sounds spread in the air. He had said that he could defeat all the members of Tiantai, and in the end he had failed. Tiantai even accepted letting Ji Wuyo rest. And now Lin Feng wanted to fight against everyone at the same time. What a humiliation again. Everybody was staring at Ji Wuyo. They thought Lin Feng was stronger. "All right," agreed Yuan Ho icily. "Ji Wuyo, come down. If you're lucky and win, I'll let you rest," said Ji Wuyo icily. Before jumping off the battle stage, Yuan Ho looked at the members of Ji Cheng's club and started talking to them using telepathy. He wanted to use the same tactic Lin Feng had used against Ji Wuyo. Suddenly, someone jumped onto the battle stage and quickly threw themselves at Lin Feng, using wind cosmic energies. Lin Feng created an armor using two sorts of cosmic energies. Rumbling sounds spread in the air, and his opponent attacked him. The armor broke, But when his enemy's fist struck Lin Feng's body, it was worse than punching armor. An atrocious pain invaded his hand. He raised his head and looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng was smiling. Boom! Lin Feng then kicked him violently and smashed him high into the sky. Lin Feng's physical strength was powerful. I'm sick of pieces of trash. Come all together, it'll be faster that way, said Lin Feng indifferently. Nobody moved, they were too weak. Lin Feng could attack them as he wished. Those people were Champion University's geniuses? In front of Lin Feng, they were just like trash. Chapter 1798. Definitely winning. Lin Feng looked proud and arrogant. The members of Ji Cheng's club all had long faces. The first cultivator they had sent up hadn't managed to do anything to Lin Feng. Exactly how strong was he? Pieces of trash? Lin Feng kept humiliating the members of Ji Cheng's club and calling them trash. He kept cutting them down with his words. A moment before, Ji Wuyo had said that he wanted to fight against all the members of Tiantai. And now Lin Feng was fighting against all the members of Ji Cheng's club in the same circumstances. When Ji Wuyo said he wanted to fight against everyone, you didn't mind. So since you want to fight against everyone, why not? Said Yuanho calmly. Then he looked at his group. Instantly, they all rose up into the air. The crowd was stupefied. Ji Cheng's club was insane. Maybe that Lin Feng had just said that without paying attention. Did he really want to fight against everybody at the same time? Okay, 5 people first. We'll see how strong you are, said Yuanho indifferently. He nodded at 5 of them. Lin Feng was strong. Back then, he had sent so many people, Lung Xia and the others, to fight against Lin Feng, and none of them had come back. So first, he could try and see how strong Lin Feng really was facing 5 opponents. Go about things steadily and surely, no need to rush. When you see you have an opportunity, go ahead and strike, advised Yuanho telepathically. An infinity of qi rose to the skies and moved towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked at the cultivators and rose up. Lights rays burst out and moved in all directions. Deployment. The crowd looked at the lights astonished. Holy marks. Lin Feng controlled deployment spells. He used deployment spells to fight against the group. In the air, 2 ancient cauldrons appeared, the 9 cauldrons qi attack. 2 people had studied that attack, pressuring Lin Feng. However, at that moment, dragons chanted, and behind Lin Feng, a dragon totem appeared. It wasn't a cyan dragon though, it was a pitch black. It looked ferocious and bloodthirsty. A demon dragon. It was powerful, as if it had come from hell. Demon dragon totem. The crowd was stupefied. It wasn't Ji Wuyo's cyan dragon totem. It looked the same, but it was a demon dragon totem. Lin Feng punched out with both fists. Energies gathered and crashed against the cauldrons, shattering them instantly. Then, Lin Feng jumped high up in the air. His blows moved towards 2 of the people, 2 dragons appearing instead of his fists. The 2 cultivators' expressions changed drastically as they released qi to destroy the dragons. Purple Lake Battle Tank. Lin Feng waved his right hand 10 times. Purple tanks rained down one after another. Explosions covered everything. A tank smashed down onto one of the cultivators, blood splashed, and the cultivator was hurled away. The Purple Lake tank skill seems alive in his hands, and contains a powerful strength, thought the crowd, dumbstruck when they saw the cultivator getting pounded by Lin Feng's attack. The demon dragon totem was the same attack as Ji Wuyo's. It was amazing. Lin Feng couldn't have Ji Wuyo's skill, so the crowd thought of one possibility. The Celestial Evolution Holy Scriptures. Evolution attacks were powerful. If Lin Feng had only used the Celestial Evolution Holy Scriptures, his dragon totem attack would have been rudimentary. But Lin Feng had dragon blood, and even had a baby dragon, and a demon dragon in his blood. His blood was filled with dragon energies, and coupled with the Celestial Evolution Holy Scriptures, his dragon totem was even more powerful. His dragons looked real. Ji Wuyo was fixedly staring at Lin Feng, and pulling a long face. That was his attack, and Lin Feng was using it to fight against the other members of Ji Cheng's club. What a humiliation once again. The other 4 cultivators attacked Lin Feng at the same time. Lin Feng smiled, and a dazzling sun sword appeared in the sky. Brilliant lights blinded the 4. That sword looked incredible, as if it could cut the skies. The cultivators retreated quickly. Lin Feng surrounded his body with wind energy. He suddenly appeared in front of one of the opponents. He didn't use any special attack, he just punched out in his direction. However, the sheer force of his fist shook the air. A powerful chi rolled out and smashed into the man. Blood splashed everywhere, and the enemy was hurled away. Lin Feng had been cleansed by Devamara Culpa strength twice in vast celestial ancient city. His physical strength had become even more incredible. He now had the physical strength of a medium-level emperor. When Lin Feng used a simple punch, his attacks were more powerful and explosive than medium-level emperor's cosmic energies. Lin Feng attacked two more cultivators, never stopping. Sword energies streaked across the skies. Wind whistled and made the earth and sky shake. He also released immortal energies, which were carried by the wind and sword energies. He attacked the three other cultivators at the same time, and they were driven back. Chaotic Sky Punch. Lin Feng condensed more wind cosmic energy, and at the same time used his Chaotic Sky Punch. Thunder rumbled, and the earth and the sky kept shaking violently. Immortal energies were carried by the wind. He pounded another cultivator who was hurled back. Blood kept dripping from the sky. "Fight together!" shouted Yuan Ho at that moment. A dozen cultivators released chi and bombarded Lin Feng. He jumped away. Lights moved in every direction. A deployment spell pattern appeared. "Come all of you," said Lin Feng to the Jichang Club cultivators with a cold smile. "Stop," said someone at that moment. The cultivators stopped and gazed into the distance. It was Ji Wuyo. "Yuan Ho, you're shameless, but Ji Chang's club isn't," said Ji Wuyo icily. He looked furious. Many people were stupefied and looked at him strangely. Ji Wuyo couldn't stand it anymore. Even though Lin Feng didn't mind fighting against everyone, the fact that Yuan Ho had ordered everyone to suddenly fight at the same time. No matter how strong Lin Feng was, he was a new student, and they were members of the Star Group, a subgroup of Ji Chang's club. The members of Ji Chang's club were all fighting against Lin Feng at the same time mercilessly, and on the champion battle stage no less. That was a horrible humiliation. Everyone was going to say that no member of Ji Chang's club could compete with Lin Feng. It was no wonder that Ji Wuyo was furious. Yuan Ho was stupefied. He knew that he was shameless, but if they didn't fight together, they could only watch Lin Feng crush them one after another. That was even more humiliating. Tiantai's people had fought against Ji Wuyo one after another, without giving him any second to take a breather. But he was the first student. Everybody considered him a genius, and all the members of Tiantai had jumped off the battle stage when they lost. None of them had been humiliated. No matter what, Tiantai was going to rise from this day forward. Yuan Ho remained silent. He had nothing to say. "Lin Feng, get ready to lose one battle at least," proclaimed Ji Wuyo, releasing boiling waves of chi. His chi surrounded the battle stage. A dazzling cyan dragon totem appeared, and bestial chi descended on everything. Lin Feng waved and removed his deployment spell. He slowly rose up in the air and said coldly, "As you wish. The most important battle is this one today. Nobody will remember the loser," said Ji Wuyo. He was sure he was going to win. Ji Chang's club had been humiliated too many times, but this battle was going to determine the future of their respective groups. If Ji Wuyo didn't lose, then the Star Group would never lose its reputation. "I told Yuan Ho to tell you that today, the first student of the low-ranking list was going to change," said Lin Feng indifferently. Then, he shook his hands and a gigantic word appeared in the sky. Incredibly, the word said, "Contract." A contract for a battle to the death. Lin Feng was challenging Ji Wuyo to a death battle. They both looked arrogant, proud, and self-confident. They were both sure they were going to win the battle, and therefore, Ji Wuyo couldn't refuse. He waved his hand, the two contracts collided and fused together. This was now a battle to the death. "Lin Feng is insane," thought the crowd. Ji Wuyo was Ji Chang's brother, a descendant of the Ji clan. Even if Lin Feng won, even if he was an incredible cultivator from the animal clan, he wouldn't get away with it. They were in the holy city. In any case, even if Lin Feng could win, could he kill Ji Wuyo? Chapter 1799 Draw? No matter what, a battle to death wasn't good for Lin Feng. However, he didn't hesitate and immediately challenged Ji Wuyo to one. Only one reason could explain why he did that: self-confidence. Lin Feng was extremely self-confident. He couldn't lose this battle. Thinking about it, the crowd watched Lin Feng. Lin Feng had proven that he was very strong, and had quickly appeared on the ranking list. Tiantai was also rising. In less than 10 years, Tiantai would be extremely powerful in Champion University. They would possibly have medium-level emperors and high-level emperors. They weren't extremely strong yet, only in the lower ranking list. The two fighters' chi covered the battle stage. A strong wind started blowing, containing a powerful chi. In the distance, some other people appeared. They were wearing monochromatic robes with moon patterns on them. They all looked fierce and strong. Even though they weren't releasing any chi, one could see that they were very strong. Moon Group's people. The crowd frowned. People from Ji Chang's club's Moon Group were here now. Those people landed next to the battle stage, but said nothing. Many people sensed an oppressive energy, especially the people from Tiantai. Even though they were also low-level emperors, the Moon Group's people looked extremely strong. Ji Chang's club's Sun Group was extremely powerful, and the Moon Group's people were also heroic. Many of them were in the middle ranking list. The weakest people of the club were the Star Group's members. They had low-level emperors. Back then, they had many people in the lower ranking list, but now Tiantai was rising and suppressing the Star Group. However, Tiantai couldn't compete with the Moon Group. Many of the cultivators of the Moon Group were already medium-level emperors. However, the two fighters on the battle stage didn't see the Moon Group's members. Ji Wuyo's Cyan Dragon Totem was dazzling, while behind Lin Feng a Demon Dragon Totem had appeared. Both of their dragon totems kept chanting. Ji Wuyo's eyes were ice-cold. "Lin Feng, I will use my full strength to fight against you," Ji Wuyo shouted. His dragon totem was shining. He waved his hand and dragons emerged, lunging at Lin Feng. Lin Feng released Devamara Culpa strength, which collided with the dragon totem. Lin Feng had been cleansed by the Devamara Culpa strength many times. His body was virtually made of pure strength. Is that Lin Feng's skill? His strength is so destructive, thought the crowd. Lin Feng spat out chi. Each time he breathed, he exhaled more chi. His Devamara Culpa strength rained down as fast as lightning. It crashed against the first cyan dragons moving towards him, and they exploded. Ji Wuyo's eyes were bestial as he made hand seals. The cyan dragon totem behind him became gigantic and surrounded him, looking like an ancient dragon. 4 more dragons charged Lin Feng, surrounded by godly dragon flames, looking almost alive. Lin Feng shouted proudly. His purple lake battle tank appeared as his power rose, shaking the earth and sky. His tank moved towards the dragons at full speed, and attacked the dragon lights, but was unable to move further. Ji Wuyo's strength was incredible. What a powerful dragon. Ji Wuyo is furious. He's using his full strength, thought the crowd when they saw Lin Feng's purple tank was useless. Their hearts were pounding with excitement. The dragons were majestic and contained a powerful strength. Their dragon lights were dazzling. Lin Feng waved his hand. Dragon chants rose, and Xian Yuan's axe appeared and struck out. "Immortal!" shouted Lin Feng, joining his hands. Immortal energy started flowing throughout the purple tank, and destroyed the dragon lights. The earth and the sky kept shaking violently. The dragons and the tank kept colliding, and the dragons finally stopped. However, Ji Wuyo jumped forwards. The real dragon was still protecting him. He ran towards Lin Feng at full speed, looking like an ancient deity, aggressive and mighty. He was the first student of the lower ranking list. He didn't have an undeserved reputation. Among low-level emperors, he had few rivals. At that moment, the crowd remembered Ji Chang, the champion. He was powerfully strong. Nobody could defeat Ji Chang within Champion University. In the Holy City, Ji Chang was second and only one person could oppress him: Ing Cheng. Lin Feng watched Ji Wuyo, who looked like a charging king, calmly. His eyes became pitch black, and his body was surrounded by immortal energy. At the same time, he released death energy, which rose to the skies. Death strangled the air. Immortal and death energy churned around him. Lin Feng's demon dragon totem disappeared. A demon appeared instead, wearing demonic armor. Dark lights glowed about it like an ancient demon, surrounded by Devamara Culpa strength. It was as if he could make anything decay. The Devamara Culpa strength moved towards his hands. 9 skies dazzling cyan dragon, shouted Jiweo furiously. The sky and the earth were suddenly filled with cyan lights and dragon chants. Even more dragons appeared. Jiweo punched out. His lights blotted out the sky. 9 gigantic dragons charged at him. Jiweo looked like a warlord. 10,000 Culpa destructions. Death and destructive strength rose to the skies, as well as immortal energy. The Devamara Culpa condensed in Lin Feng's fist. It was as if nothing could stop him. The cyan lights and the demon lights collided, the conflict of them blinding. The crowd couldn't open their eyes anymore. Many people even moved away from the battle stage. The battle was terrifying. Those attacks could even kill medium-level emperors. Dong! Some powerful sounds spread in the air. Destructive energies surrounded the whole battle stage. When the energies dispersed and the atmosphere calmed down again, the crowd saw Lin Feng, who had moved back of a few proud steps. Jiweo had surprisingly been driven away from the battle stage. His sleeves were ripped apart, and he was soaked with blood. Devamara Culpa's strength still surrounded him. He lost. Jiweo lost. The crowd was astonished. Jiweo had used his full strength. They had never seen him use his full strength before. Even when all the members of Tiantai fought against him successively, Jiweo had tried to hide his real strength earlier, because he didn't want Lin Feng to see it. However, he had lost anyway. The first student had been defeated. As Lin Feng had said, the first position had to change on this day. The members of the star group all pulled long faces. Jiweo had lost. It meant that the star group had really started declining. That young man in white clothes had joined Champion University for only a year, and he was already the first student. At that moment, Jiweo lowered his head and looked at his hands and arms. Then he raised his head again and stared at Lin Feng coldly. He jumped forwards. Surprisingly, he didn't move back. He jumped up onto the battle stage again. "You want to die?" said Jiweo icily. His blood started boiling. He closed his eyes and powerful energies surrounded him. The crowd frowned. Jiweo still had trump cards? "That's enough," shouted someone furiously. The strong cultivators of the Moon Group jumped onto the battle stage and landed in front of Jiweo. They put their arms on his shoulders. Jiweo closed his eyes and said, "Piss off. Stop fighting," shouted one of the cultivators furiously. Jiweo came back to his senses, but his chi was still powerful. Another member of the Moon Group looked at the crowd and said, "The battles were amazing today. However, we can stop here. It's a draw." Draw! The crowd was stupefied. That was a battle to death. And Jiweo hadn't even given up. Lin Feng also wanted to fight. Was that a draw? Chapter 1800. Admitting his defeat. "It's a battle to death," we both agreed. "Why are you getting involved?" asked Lin Feng indifferently. "We said it's a draw. You are both incredible geniuses. Why battle to the death? It would be a loss for the university. I hope you understand," said one of them in a sharply, but he tried to keep calm. After all, they couldn't truly get involved, but they didn't want Jiweo to die. "I can kill him," said Jiweo coldly. The cultivator next to him said, "I know you have a secret technique. However, battling to the death or getting injured is useless." Then he said using telepathy, "Even if you win, what will you get? You're just going to waste time." Jiweo remained silent, and he heard the cultivator say, "Besides, even if you continue, you don't know what his trump cards are. You may end up badly injured or dead. Continue practicing cultivation. You can fight against him another time and win, unless you're not confident and think you won't." Jiweo remained silent and seemed to be coming back to his senses. Indeed, using his trump card against Lin Feng wasn't the best thing to do at that moment. He could challenge Lin Feng in the future again. "I forgive him, I won't kill him today," said Jiweo icily. Lin Feng frowned and looked amused. He said indifferently, "You lost and you dare say you forgive me and you won't kill me? Ridiculous. Since it's that way, let's continue the battle." "Lin Feng!" shouted the strong cultivator of the Moon Group. "Why say that? If Jiweo uses his trump cards, he can be very dangerous. It would be useless for both of you. Let's say it's a draw. That's the best thing to do. Haven't you heard him? He said he forgives me and won't kill me today," said Lin Feng, smiling coldly. He's just angry, said that cultivator indifferently. Lin Feng looked annoyed. He knew that killing Ji Wuyo was useless. Tiantai was weak in the holy city, but Ji Wuyo was so arrogant. Lin Feng couldn't stand hearing such stupid excuses. We can stop fighting, agreed Lin Feng, staring at the strong cultivator of the moon group. But a win is a win, a loss is a loss. There's no draw. He must admit he lost, and we can forget about it. Admit I lost? Ji Wuyo looked petrified. Admit he lost. The first student of the lower ranking list, Ji Wuyo, admit his defeat? Accepting that he wasn't as strong as Lin Feng? The two strong cultivators of the moon group frowned. That guy was stubborn. Making Ji Wuyo admit that he had lost wouldn't be easy. Lin Feng, Ji Wuyo didn't use his full strength. A draw is the best thing for everyone. Why do you insist? Asked the strong cultivator of the moon group. Lin Feng snickered and said, Let's continue fighting then. If there's no winner, let's continue until there's one. Boom! A powerful chi emerged from Ji Wuyo's body. On his back, a cyan dragon totem appeared again, gigantic and dazzling. Ji Wuyo! Shouted the strong cultivator of the moon group extremely loudly. He put his hand on Ji Wuyo again, and released a powerful chi which restricted him. Ji Wuyo shouted furiously. What are you doing? Ji Wuyo! I promised Ji Chang I'd take care of you. If you use your secret technique, with your strength, you'll need a year to recover. It means that you won't be able to progress for a year. Meanwhile, Lin Feng will become extremely strong, and you won't be able to catch up with him, or anyone anymore. If you ruin your cultivation because of your impulsiveness, then you'll never be as strong as your brother, stated the strong cultivator of the moon group telepathically. Remember how Ing Chung was many years ago when he was as strong as you. He was humble and talented. He admitted when he lost back then, and he did lose sometimes. Ji Wuyo shivered. He looked extremely sad and humiliated. He had to admit that he had lost. Lin Feng was going to become the first student. Ji Chang, if you act like that, you will never surpass your brother, shouted that cultivator again. Ji Chang's face was red with restrained anger. Finally he nodded and looked at Lin Feng. I lost today. Another day we'll fight again. It was as if Ji Wuyo had used his full strength to say that, before he ran away. Some chi remained behind, suspended in the air. After such a battle, admitting that he had lost was a painful thing to do. But Ji Wuyo understood that if he used all his trump cards, maybe he wouldn't have defeated Lin Feng anyway. Even if he had, it wouldn't have been worth it. Lin Feng was talented. With a year of time lost, he wouldn't be able to catch up with Lin Feng anymore. The crowd watched Ji Wuyo leave and sighed. He had lost. Ji Wuyo had finally admitted that he had lost in front of everyone. Lin Feng was now the first student. They looked to Lin Feng. He looked calm, serene, and yet arrogant, as if he had always known he'd become the first student of the lower ranking list. As if he had known from the beginning that he'd win the battle. Bzz. Tiantai's members rose up into the air and jumped onto the battle stage next to Lin Feng. They all looked like heroes. Tiantai was now stronger than Ji Chang's club. The members of Ji Chang's club's star group pulled long faces. Ji Wuyo had admitted that he had lost. They were declining. They had suffered a crushing defeat, and Ji Wuyo, the first student, had lost against Lin Feng. Yuan Ho groaned icily. He flung his sleeves and pulled a long face. He was one of the managers of the star group, and in his hands, the star group had started declining. He felt totally humiliated. The members of the moon group stared at Lin Feng sharply. The one who had been talking to Lin Feng smiled coldly. You are really incredible. We gave you face, but you refused and you humiliated us. Even though you won, don't forget that your cultivation level is still very low. It's just the beginning. Lin Feng was amused. That guy was very polite a moment before because Ji Wuyo was on the battle stage. The members of the moon group weren't supposed to get involved at all. Lin Feng and Ji Wuyo's battle was now over, and that guy's face had instantly changed. He wasn't polite anymore. Don't worry, I won't grow dizzy with success. Everybody knows the reason why we fought against the star group, but it doesn't matter anymore. At the moment, Tiantai only has low-level emperors, but maybe in a few years, our opponents won't be the star group, replied Lin Feng. That cultivator frowned and said coldly, "Well then, whom do you want to fight? Within 3 years, my brothers and I will still come onto the battle stage. Of course it won't be this one. It will be the one of the middle ranking list," said Lin Feng, smiling indifferently. Everybody frowned. Lin Feng was challenging the Moon Group? How arrogant, said the cultivators of the Moon Group. They all looked furious and released a powerful qi, pressing down on Lin Feng and his friends. Tiantai's members looked angry. The Star Group is very arrogant. It seems that you're not any different, said Tiantai icily. In a few years, we'll show you what it feels like to be humiliated, just like the Star Group has been humiliated. Little ignorant bastard. One of the members of the Moon Group sneered coldly. Rumbling sounded as a gigantic earth energy appeared around Tiantai and buried him. Tiantai harumphed and shouted furiously. A punch attacked the earth energy, but nothing happened. That person shook his hand, and the earth energy exploded. He smiled coldly and said, "Little boy, medium-level emperors and low-level emperors can't compete. Don't grow dizzy with success. Within 3 years, we'll be on the middle battle stage. When I challenge you, I hope you won't have forgotten what happened today," said Lin Feng calmly. The crowd frowned. While the Moon Group's members were staring at Lin Feng, he would challenge the Moon Group within 3 years? Was he dreaming? "I will remember," said the leader of the group, smiling and staring at Lin Feng. 3 years was impossible. Who would become a medium-level emperor within 3 years in Tiantai? You will remember, of course. 3 years was the time Lin Feng gave himself in Tiantai. He had to make Tiantai rise in the shortest time as possible. The Moon Group was a kind of goal for them. Within 3 years, they had to be able to defeat the Moon Group. After the Moon Group, they'd challenge the rest of Ji Cheng's club. That was the promise Lin Feng made to himself. Chapter 1801. The 7 Assassins. After Tiantai and Ji Cheng's club's battle, the rankings of Champion University had changed. It had been a long time since such a battle had taken place there. People were still shaking with excitement. The Star Group had suffered a crushing defeat. Ho Qinglin, Tian Qi, Tiantai the Wise, Wu Qingfeng, and so on had all risen in the rankings. Many people were shocked. Why were Tiantai's people all so strong? They were all so talented. Of course, the most incredible battle had been the one between Lin Feng and Ji Wuyo. Lin Feng had defeated the first student, Ji Cheng's brother. Now Lin Feng was at the top of the low-ranking list, amazing the whole university. Ji Wuyo had been at the top for such a long time. It was an incredible change, yet he was now merely the second student. After that battle, the most famous low-level emperors of Champion University were the members of Tiantai. From that moment on, people who would join Tiantai would be considered very strong. Ji Cheng's club Star Group was declining. It was as if they had lost their reputation between one moment and the next. Initially, many people wanted to steal Lin Feng's Celestial Evolution Holy Scriptures, but because of this battle, they had already given up on the idea. And if medium-level emperors and high-level emperors wanted to oppress Lin Feng with their strength, they had to think twice because he now had support. People usually admired the top 3 students of the university. Even though they didn't support them openly, the elders of Champion University understood this as well. In the remote mountains, Ji Wuyo was practicing cultivation like a madman. Yuan Jing was sitting next to him, and practicing cultivation too. An old man appeared in the air and looked down at them. He was surprised as he landed next to Yuan Jing. "Ancestor," said Yuan Jing, opening her eyes. She bowed to Ancestor Zhu Tian. "What's wrong with him?" asked Ancestor Zhu Tian, pointing at Ji Wuyo. Yuan Jing looked awkward, but she finally admitted the truth. "Ancestor, we lost." "Oh." Ancestor Zhu Tian was surprised and asked, "The little boy defeated Ji Wuyo?" "Indeed," said Yuan Jing, pulling a long face but nodding nonetheless. "All right," said the old man, nodding calmly. He said, "A defeat doesn't matter. Study hard." Then the ancestor left, shaking his head. Ji Wuyo wasn't as strong as Ji Chang, but he didn't have time to take care of young people that much. The old man would wait before becoming Ji Wuyo's official teacher. He had to see how strong his potential was first. In another place in Lin Feng's residence, Tiantai was lively. Yin Qing Yin looked overjoyed and said to Huang Fulong, "Buddy, look, there are already 13 more people who want to join Tiantai. I gave them months of exams to see how strong they were. If they succeed, I'll allow them to join the external disciples of Tiantai." Hehe, Huang Fulong laughed. Tiantai was becoming famous. Even when walking around in the university, Huang Fulong had the sensation that everybody was looking at him in admiration. "Where's Lin Feng?" asked someone at that moment. Yin Qing Yin raised her head and saw a smiling young man. His hands were in his sleeves. "Why do you want to see Lin Feng?" asked Yin Qing Yin. "I have something to tell him." "Jing Shou, I have the feeling you harbor evil intentions," said Yin Qing Yin to the young man. Now, Jing Shou was the third student in the ranking list. "What do you mean? Lin Feng is strong and famous. Even if I meant him harm, I wouldn't stand a chance," said Jing Shou with a smile. Yin Qing Yin wanted to say something, but Lin Feng came out and Jing Shou noted, "He's right behind you." "You're looking for me?" Lin Feng had just come back from Champion Hall, and now encountered Jing Shou. "Indeed. I want to talk to you," said Jing Shou, nodding at Lin Feng. "All right, come with me," said Lin Feng. He didn't refuse. Jing Shou was extraordinary, with an incredible reputation in Champion University as the first assassin. Lin Feng wondered why Jing Shou was looking for him. Lin Feng took Jing Shou to a courtyard with stone chairs. "Please have a seat." Jing Shou sat down, his hands still in his sleeves as always. "So, Assassin Jing Shou, why were you looking for me?" asked Lin Feng. "I want to join Tiantai," said Jing Shou, smiling indifferently. Despite himself, Lin Feng was surprised and asked, "Why?" "I am more interested in the ranking list than other people. And I found the battles amazing. Tiantai's cultivators are incredible fighters, and many people who joined Tiantai changed," said Jing Shou, smiling indifferently. They hadn't fought on the battle stage for a long time. Of course they had changed since the last time you saw them. Otherwise, what's the purpose of being a university student if you don't become stronger? Asked Lin Feng. However, Jing Shou shook his head and said, "Other people haven't noticed, but I have. They haven't only become stronger. I'm an assassin, I see things people don't. I noticed that the core disciples of Tiantai have studied the celestial evolution holy scriptures." Lin Feng frowned. Jing Shou was right about that. As an assassin, he had acute perception. "I admire Tiantai's people, you and your friends. I also think it's amazing that you transmitted the celestial evolution holy scriptures to all your friends." "Who would do that?" asked Jing Shou, narrowing his eyes and smiling. "No wonder you managed to survive after leaving the small world and coming here." Lin Feng was shaken. They had never talked that much. How did Jing Shou know that Lin Feng was from a small world? "Besides, we are old friends. We should have stuck together," said Jing Shou. Lin Feng was dumbstruck, but Jing Shou ignored his facial expression and smiled as if Lin Feng had been his old friend. Lin Feng was very curious. "Who are you?" asked Lin Feng. "Assassin Jing Shou," said Jing Shou, standing up. Suddenly, he released qi towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng's hair bristled, and he also stood up, releasing his own qi. "Don't worry. I didn't come to fight. Don't you recognize my qi?" asked Jing Shou with a smile. Lin Feng sensed the qi and trembled. Indeed, he had already sensed that qi a very long time ago. Was it in a dangerous situation? "Are you surprised? The first time I saw you, I didn't know you were Lin Feng until Ho Qing Lin and Tian Qi showed up, and you recreated Tiantai. Then I knew that the person I wanted to kill a long time ago had joined Champion University," said Jing Shou, smiling calmly. However, Lin Feng didn't look happy. He was staring at Jing Shou. "You're from the Celestial Qi Castle?" No, absolutely not. The members of the Imperial Assassin Union are not all Celestial Qi Castle's people. They just controlled me for a certain amount of time," said Jing Shou with a smile that was not a smile. "But I, the first assassin, had already left the Celestial Qi Castle before you were there. And now we meet again. That's a surprise." "First assassin?" Lin Feng's eyes twinkled. Jing Shou's qi exploded. Lin Feng remembered the assassins he had met a few times back then. Surprisingly, the second student, Jing Shou, was the first assassin. Back then in the small world, The Imperial Assassin Union killed people who were talented. The first and second assassins rarely had to show up because they only had to kill people who really had the potential to become extremely strong, and you were lucky, because you weren't on that list, said Jing Shou calmly. Lin Feng was surprised. Why didn't the first and second assassins kill me then? And who was the second assassin? The 7 assassins don't know each other, and they also change all the time. When you are available, you're an assassin, otherwise you're not. I did know who the second assassin was, replied Jing Shou. You recognized him? Asked Lin Feng. You know him. He was very important to the 7 assassins. However, I've heard that he also betrayed the Celestial Qi Castle, because he was a member of the Celestial Wind Castle, said Jing Shou. Lin Feng began to recall many things. Who? His name was Wen'ao Shui, said Jing Shou confidently. Lin Feng frowned in astonishment. Wen'ao Shui was the second assassin? Surprised? You don't need to believe me, but I think that only a few people knew his real social status, Jing Shou told him. Lin Feng looked pensive, startled at this new information. Chapter 1802. Heavenly Grace Godlywood. I'm surprised because the Imperial Assassin Union tried to kill Wen'ao Shui. Was he pretending back then? I don't need to think too much about him, however, Lin Feng said after remaining silent for a few seconds. Jing Shou smiled. Who said the second assassin was extremely strong? Maybe back then he could have really died. Lin Feng raised his head, looking thoughtful, but then he smiled indifferently. He didn't care about the 7 assassins anymore. His enemies were the members of the Celestial Qi Castle and the Palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine. You are the first assassin and now you want to join Tiantai. Why would I accept? Asked Lin Feng, smiling at Jing Shou. Maybe that the second assassin wasn't very strong, but I was the strongest. I understand how to kill people the best. Since you want Tiantai to be powerful, don't you think I'd be a good fit? I'm strong. If I obtain the Celestial Evolution Holy Scriptures, I'll be like your friends. And when Tiantai becomes very, very strong, I'll be a powerful assassin in the institution, said Jing Shou, his hands still in his sleeves, smiling easily. Lin Feng's heart accelerated, but he smiled back. How can I know that you don't harbor evil intentions? People who join Tiantai are all brothers. If I betray Tiantai, you'll all join hands and kill me. That's your motto. Unless you think that you're friends, and you can't kill me even if you join hands, said Jing Shou calmly. He was convinced that since Lin Feng and his friends had the Celestial Evolution Holy Scriptures, he'd accept. As expected, Lin Feng smiled. Release your godly awareness. All right. Jing Shou nodded and released his godly awareness. Lin Feng transmitted the Celestial Evolution Holy Scriptures to him. After that, Jing Shou opened his eyes and Lin Feng said calmly, You are now a brother. If you betray Tiantai, Tiantai's members will kill you. We are now brothers, agreed Jing Shou, standing up and smiling. And then the 2 cultivators walked out together. Yun Qingye saw Lin Feng and Jing Shou come out. She was surprised. What had Jing Shou told Lin Feng? Their expressions had changed. Qing Yan, from now on, Jing Shou is a core disciple of Tiantai. He'll help you make Tiantai become stronger and bigger, said Lin Feng to Yun Qingyan, smiling warmly. Yun Qingyan was very surprised, but she smiled happily at Jing Shou. Jing Shou was the first assassin. He was an incredible killer. He was also the 3rd student in the ranking list, so he was very strong. If he studied the Celestial Evolution Holy Scriptures, he would become even stronger. He also had incredible senses and acute perceptions, like most assassins. He could become a real asset to the group. Having an assassin was a great asset for killing enemies. Lin Feng left and looked for Ho Qinglin, Tiantai, and the others. Lin Feng said to Ho Qinglin, Brother, we're slowly rising in Champion University. Ji Chang's club are our enemies, but they won't dare cause trouble for now. I'm going to leave for a while. Take our members away to practice if you have time. Help them become stronger. Also, I accepted Jing Shou and Tiantai. I told him to stay with Qing Yan. They're going to recruit more people. With you guys, I'm confident nothing will happen to Tiantai. When Ho Qinglin heard that Jing Shou had joined Tiantai, he nodded. Jing Shou is mysterious, but he has a good position in the rankings. It's a good thing that he joined Tiantai. I think so too. I think Jing Shou also comes from our small world. He was the first assassin back then, said Lin Feng. Ho Qinglin was startled. Lin Feng, where are you going? Tantai asked when he heard that Lin Feng was going to leave. I'm going to your tribe actually. I need to ask some things of the elder of your tribe, Lin Feng said to Tantai. My tribe? Tantai was surprised and looked at Lin Feng strangely. Let's go. I know someone who has been injured. I don't know how to cure him, so I'll ask the elders of your tribe, Lin Feng told him. After leaving the university, Lin Feng and Tantai jumped into Lin Feng's boat and left the holy city. Lin Feng was so grateful that Duan Mu the Celestial Emperor had given a boat to him. Without that boat, he would have wasted so much time traveling. They flew to a desolate area. Tantai's tribe still looked simple, as if nothing had changed since the old days. And the young people's cultivation levels were still so low. It was difficult to imagine that such a place was just outside of the holy city, unless you understood the philosophy of that tribe. Otherwise, many people actually despised them, thinking they were primitive weaklings. Grandpa, shouted Tantai. The old man turned around and shouted back at Tantai. You little boy, why did you come back? Did you have an accident while traveling? Hee. I didn't have any problem this time. Look at my cultivation level, beamed Tantai. Crackling sounds were heard, and a terrifying chi rose to the skies as his lions roared. The old man was staring at Tantai. He smiled and said, Little boy, what happened? You're quickly growing up. Bullshit, you think I'm a weakling? Retorted Tantai loudly. Then he laughed and said, Of course, I also came because of Lin Feng. He has something to ask you. No matter what he wants, you can't refuse, otherwise I'll get angry. You're becoming insolent, little boy, said the old man to Tantai. Then he looked at Lin Feng. Little boy, tell me what you want. Master, I have a friend, a sword cultivator. He was injured by cosmic energies, and his injuries are severe. I wonder if you could heal him, said Lin Feng, bowing politely before the old man. Tantai didn't know if his tribe could heal sword cultivators. I can heal almost anyone, I think. I just need time. And I need to see the patient, said the old man. If I don't see the person, I can't do much. Lin Feng frowned. Was Emperor Wu Tianjin in Jiang'a? Even if he was there, would he follow Lin Feng to the periphery of the holy city to see a doctor? Master, is there any other way? Asked Lin Feng. The old man remained silent. He looked pensive. Then he nodded. If you could obtain the heavenly grace godly wood from the godly wood valley, then you could heal any cosmic energy injury. Grandpa, are you joking? Lin Feng would die if he went there. There are guards. Tantai blurted out furiously, staring at the old man. I didn't tell him to go, replied the old man evenly. Master, what is the heavenly grace godly wood? Asked Lin Feng. He was curious. He knew where the godly wood valley was. He had read about it in the Edict Palace. He had heard that there was a tribe there which was isolated from the world. Maybe it was a world in itself. The members of the tribe protected their godly wood. But Lin Feng didn't know what it was. The heavenly grace godly wood is really well protected. It comes from the cosmic energies of the earth and sky. Some people say that the heavenly grace godly wood can help when fighting against great emperors. Your friend is injured, but with the heavenly grace godly wood, he could definitely be cured, explained the old man. However, the heavenly grace godly wood is in the godly wood valley. They don't allow outsiders there precisely because of the heavenly grace godly wood. There are many great emperors there who are terrifyingly strong. Nobody dares offend them. Therefore, you need to think carefully before trying to obtain it. An ancient tribe, thought Lin Feng before he said, If I go there as a guest, will I have problems? No problem. The Godlywood Valley and the World Clan are the same. They can't stop people from coming. Actually, they also send disciples to the universities of the region. But those students never say they're from there, that's all, said the old man patiently. Grandpa, are there only two possibilities? Isn't there a third one? Asked Tantai to the old man. He didn't want Lin Feng to try and take the heavenly grace godly wood. In the holy city, many people wanted the heavenly grace godly wood. Those who had tried had failed and ended up in difficult situations. No, nothing else. The patient can come himself, or you can use the heavenly grace godly wood, that's all. Of course, We can forget about the godly medicine of the immortals, said the old man indifferently. Very few people had ever seen the godly medicine of the immortals. Getting it was almost impossible. Lin Feng, you should bring him here. My tribe can take care of him. I understand, nodded Lin Feng. He had already thought of a plan. He looked at Tantai and said, Tantai, you stay here, I'm leaving. Tantai knew what Lin Feng wanted to do. I'm coming with you, Tantai stated to Lin Feng. Lin Feng frowned and was about to say something before the old man interrupted. Go, just be careful. Chapter 1803. Godlywood Clan. Even though the old man didn't mind, Lin Feng did mind and asked Tantai to go back to the holy city. Lin Feng had read about the Godlywood Valley in the Edict Palace. It was an incredible place. The people there were incredibly strong. Lin Feng preferred to go there alone. If he couldn't get the heavenly grace Godlywood, then he'd give up. If he could get it, then that was great. Regarding Tantai, Lin Feng didn't want him to take needless risks. In the Edict Palace, Lin Feng had read that the Godlywood Valley was an ancient valley in the Great Shiny Mountain, a great distance northwest of the holy city. After a week of travel, a boat appeared in the sky above the vast Great Shiny Mountain. Lin Feng was still flying at full speed. The Great Shiny Mountain is just like in the legends, depopulated and scary, thought Lin Feng glancing around. There were rotten trees, orange grass, desolate mountain ranges, no sign of life. Lin Feng glanced around and whispered, The Great Shiny Mountain is incredibly vast. The Godlywood Valley will be difficult to find. Suddenly, 3 Lin Feng clones appeared around him. 1 life turns into 1. 2 lives turn into 3 lives. The 10,000 things of creation. Lin Feng turned into 3 shadows. And then 9. But those shadows looked like illusions, not like clones. They had no chi and seemed very fragile. More and more Lin Fengs appeared in the sky and moved in every direction. Lin Feng's real body landed on the ground. He closed his eyes and started sleeping. The 3 live scriptures allow me to have 3 bodies. However, when one body turns into 3, the 2 others still belong to your other body. It's impossible to control them independently. It's like a body transformation technique, thought Lin Feng. When he turned into 1,000,000 clones, his clones couldn't fight. But for now it didn't matter. The 1,000,000 clones traveled around in the mountains. Lin Feng saw some people there. One of his clones was in the air above a valley, his eyes twinkling. Then the clone's silhouette flickered and descended into the valley. Lin Feng realized there was a path there. At that moment, his clone slowly walked forwards. A new world appeared before his eyes. A city with a bustling crowd was there. Lin Feng had just followed some people to find that place. Far from the Great Shiny Mountain, the real Lin Feng opened his eyes and flew in that direction. When he arrived above the valley, his millions of clones came back to him, and he became one person once again. Lin Feng created another clone. He looked as real as the real Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked at his clone and descended from the sky. After a short time, he arrived in the city. Even though there were quite a few people there, that city couldn't be compared to cities in the outside world. It wasn't as crowded, and there weren't as many buildings. However, people there were abnormally strong. On both sides of the road, there were vendors' booths. They sold godly wood. Your Excellency, how to get godly wood? Asked Lin Feng of one of the vendors. The wood he was selling was red and twinkling. It contained cosmic energies. A chapter of medium-level ancient imperial scriptures for a stick, the owner said to Lin Feng. Medium-level ancient imperial scriptures. Lin Feng looked surprised and said, Is that heavenly grace godly wood? Heavenly grace godly wood? The owner looked at Lin Feng strangely, smiled and said, Your Excellency, it must be your first time in the Godlywood Valley. Indeed. Lin Feng laughed and nodded at his words. The heavenly grace godly wood is the internal part of the heavenly grace ancient tree. Even if you can find heavenly grace godly wood, a stick can't be exchanged against medium-level ancient imperial scriptures. It's priceless. The wood we sell is from branches only. Of course, other vendors sell other parts of the heavenly grace ancient tree in the city, but the price will be much higher. Concerning the heavenly grace godly wood, nobody sells it in the Godlywood Valley. I see. So if someone wants the heavenly grace godly wood, there's no hope, right? Guessed Lin Feng. The stocks of Heavenly Grace Godly Wood are controlled by the main clan of the Godlywood Valley. Only their members can use it. If you want to gain some Heavenly Grace Godlywood, you have to be a member of the Godlywood clan. But to be honest, with your cultivation level, it's impossible, said the merchant. He was even surprised that Lin Feng had found this place. I understand, said Lin Feng politely. I can go to the Godlywood Valley, right? You can. No problem. One day every month, the valley is open to foreigners. Some people go there to trade. It's a win-win deal. The Godlywood Valley can't prevent its people from having contacts with the outside world. You came precisely on time. Today is the open day, you're lucky. You can go to the Godlywood Valley. Lin Feng nodded. He smiled and said, Can we go together? It would be great if you could show me around. You seem nice, so why not? Said the vendor agreeably. You must come from a powerful family. It's an honor for me to know you. Please call me Chong Lin. All right, brother Chong Lin. My name is Lin Feng. Lin Feng talked to and got to know that vendor. After a short time, the news spread that the open day was starting. Lin Feng and Chong Lin walked to the edge of the small town and entered a new world, the Godlywood Valley. In the Godlywood Valley, there were trees everywhere. There were many different colors in the forest, and courtyards and gardeners everywhere. Lin Feng, look, those people are grafting the trees in the Godlywood Valley. Those trees contain cosmic energies. They are not very natural though, they are not made of the cosmic energies of the earth and sky. Only the Godlywood clan have real sky blue Godlywood, said Chong Lin. Many people were in the valley, and looking for things they needed. Brother Chong Lin, some people must also go to the Godlywood clan, right? Asked Lin Feng. Chong Lin nodded and pointed at a group of dozens of people. They looked extraordinary. They are going to the Godlywood clan. They are all extremely strong. Weaklings can't go there. The clan has priceless items, and in order to deal with them, you need to be extremely rich. Let's go there too, said Lin Feng, and he started that way. Chong Lin frowned and stretched his hand out. But Lin Feng was already out of reach, so he smiled wryly. What a funny guy. All right, I've never been there, so why not? The group of people kept moving forwards. After a long time, Lin Feng arrived at an ancient city. Cosmic strength floated in the air and covered the whole city. Lin Feng was astonished and gasped with amazement. That's the Godlywood clan, who control the Godlywood Valley. It's also a holy world. You can find real Heavenly Grace ancient trees here, said Chong Lin, sensing the qi. He looked at the cosmic energies in admiration. Let's go, said Lin Feng, and they continued on. However, at that moment, two young men with Godlywood armor stopped them. You can't go into the Godlywood clan's territory. But these people just did, said Lin Feng, pointing at the group of people. Chong Lin pulled Lin Feng's sleeve as the guard said. They were invited by the Godlywood clan. They are allowed in. Lin Feng, those people must be business partners of the Godlywood clan. That's why they were invited, said Chong Lin to Lin Feng using telepathy. Let's leave. We've brought many great things. We can also be considered as guests, I guess, said Lin Feng, taking out weapons which floated in the air in front of the two guards, radiating oppressive energies. The guards glanced at each other and one said, Since you came to trade, come with me. The first time, someone must lead the way. Thank you, said Lin Feng, putting his treasures away. Then, he rose up into the air with the two guards. Chong Lin looked at Lin Feng strangely and followed along. Lin Feng had come prepared. Lin Feng sensed the cosmic energies all around him inside. The Godlywood clan was incredible. Their territory was covered by cosmic energies created by the earth and sky. The guard took Lin Feng and Chong Lin to a palace. There were other people there, who looked at Lin Feng strangely. They didn't know these two new people, but they didn't care. The Godlywood clan could deal with them if necessary. Chapter 1804. At the foot of the tree at that moment, someone came out of the palace. The crowd walked forwards, one of them smiling and asking, Mr. Liu, why is it so calm today? Sorry everyone. We have some guests. The young masters are all there attending a banquet. They didn't have time to come. They told me they didn't have time to take care of you. But you can all come and attend the banquet, said Mr. Liu, smiling politely. He was in charge of the business operations of the clan. The Godlywood clan does have close relations with groups of the outside world. Groups like Tantai's tribe are very rare, thought Lin Feng. As the group followed Mr. Liu. Mr. Liu noticed Lin Feng and Chang Lin. He slowed down and smiled at them. I don't know you. It must your first time here. Indeed, it's our first time. My friend brought some precious treasures. He wants to trade with the clan, replied Chang Lin. Mr. Liu said nothing. Very quickly, they climbed up the stairs and arrived in the room where the banquet was taking place. Lin Feng glanced around. The people there were very young, chatting, laughing, and having fun. Brother Ji, you shine with splendor. Everybody admires you, including me. Come, cheers, said an imposing young man to another young man who was wearing a cyan robe. They raised their glasses and laughed. Ji Chang, whispered Lin Feng, frowning. The young man who was drinking was surprisingly the champion of Champion University, Ji Chang. Ji Chang suddenly turned around and looked at Lin Feng coolly. Who are you? Ji Chang asked Lin Feng. He rarely went to Champion University these days, traveling and practicing cultivation a lot. He didn't know who Lin Feng was. A student of Champion University, said Lin Feng, his facial expression not changing. He still looked calm and composed. Ji Chang nodded once. Since Lin Feng was a student from Champion University, they could be friends, he asked. Are you hiding your cultivation level? Kind of, replied Lin Feng, releasing cosmic energies. Ji Chang was surprised and said, What a powerful technique. I can't even see through it. Lin Feng laughed but said nothing. He looked at the other people. They all looked extraordinary. The young man with whom Ji Chang was talking was probably from the Godlywood clan. At that moment, a young man stood up and smiled at Lin Feng and the others. Welcome to the Godlywood clan, everyone, please join us. That person seemed polite. Chang Lin and Lin Feng sat down next to one another. Chang Lin pulled Lin Feng's sleeve and said, Dude, you're from Champion University and you're hiding your cultivation level. I feel stupid. I've heard of Ji Chang. He's a genius from Champion University. And even he couldn't see through it. So what? He's sitting in a good place. I am on the ground, replied Lin Feng. Chang Lin laughed and replied, You're insane. Lin Feng laughed back but said nothing. He listened to Ji Chang and the others. Ji Chang had already spent a few days there. He had met some young people from the Godlywood clan while traveling and made friends with them. All the young men there were heroic. I've heard that the Godlywood clan grows the Heavenly Grace ancient trees for 10,000 years. Is it possible to see them? Asked a young man just under Ji Chang. Many people shivered. Few people had ever seen real Heavenly Grace ancient trees. Right, I want to see a real Heavenly Grace ancient tree too, said Ji Chang. The young men of the Godlywood clan glanced at one another. Brother, since Ji Chang and the others want to see the trees, we can show them, said a beautiful woman of the Godlywood clan. She was the princess of the clan, and talking to her older brother, Shen Muqi. Shen Muqi nodded agreeably and said, Since Brother Ji and Brother Yen want to see the trees, why not? I cannot refuse. Please stand up, everyone. Thank you very much, Brother Shenmu and Brother Shenmu's sister, answered Yan Ping, smiling broadly. Ji Chang and the others stood up. They wanted to see the Heavenly Grace ancient tree. And they also wanted to get their hands on some Heavenly Grace godly wood. Come with me, everyone, said Shen Muqi, pointing at Shen Mu Yun, who was going to lead the way. Chang Lin and many other people remained seated though. Only Lin Feng suddenly stood up and followed. The young man turned around and smiled at Lin Feng. Your Excellency, please stay here and have a few drinks. We'll have the opportunity to chat when I come back. Your humble servant Lin Feng would like to see the Heavenly Grace ancient tree too, said Lin Feng. He perfectly understood what the young man meant, but since Ji Chang and the others had asked first, Lin Feng couldn't miss that opportunity. At least, he wanted to see where the tree was. I don't like making guests feel awkward, said Shen Muyin politely. He sounded nice but posh. Lin Feng could also see that those people considered people like Ji Chang as equals. The Godlywood clan controls a world. I came here because I admire you and your clan. I would be disappointed if I couldn't see certain things, especially if others could. It would be unfair. Lin Feng replied easily. Shen Muyun's eyes twinkled coldly. But Shen Muqi intervened calmly. Since you really want to see it, then go. Shen Muyin looked at Lin Feng coolly, but turned around and continued walking. Ji Chang hadn't turned around at all. He didn't care about this matter. The others looked at Lin Feng in amusement. What a guy, he dares follow them, thought Chang Lin. He was stunned. Lin Feng was audacious. He was not afraid of offending the Godlywood clan. He had insisted on going and seeing the heavenly grace ancient trees, but he looked at Lin Feng with admiration nonetheless. After all, Chang Lin had been in the Godlywood Valley for a very long time, and he had never seen a heavenly grace ancient tree. The distance between the palace where the banquet was taking place and the field with the trees was important. They arrived at a thick and dense forest, controlled by the Godlywood clan for the incredible heavenly grace ancient trees there. When Lin Feng arrived at the forest, he sensed the qi surrounding his body and shook. This forest was protected by some incredibly strong guardians. It was impossible to steal trees here. There are heavenly grace ancient trees here, but I don't know where the usable trees are, said Shen Muqi with a smile. Ji Chang's eyes sparked like lightning. I've heard that the heavenly grace ancient trees are alive and can even switch locations. It seems that even extremely strong cultivators can't necessarily kidnap them. This place is so vast, finding a mature tree mustn't be easy. Then, Ji Chang's figure blurred into the wind and disappeared. The place was extremely vast, but the Godlywood clan had fenced in the territory. There was only one exit. The young men of the Godlywood clan trusted Ji Chang and the others. Besides, even if they found usable heavenly grace ancient trees, they couldn't necessarily use them. The others started walking. Lin Feng didn't move. Shen Muyin looked at him and said, "Why don't you go and look for a tree?" "I'm going now," said Lin Feng. Suddenly, a clone appeared and moved in a different direction. Shen Muyin frowned. This guy could duplicate himself? While moving, Lin Feng's clones continued multiplying and moving in every direction, looking for a mature tree. Very soon, Lin Feng found a gigantic tree containing terrifying cosmic energies. Lin Feng stood at the bottom of the tree and took a deep breath. He could sense the cosmic energies of the earth and sky. Heavenly grace ancient tree, the child of the earth and sky. It's not mature yet, but it has such an incredible qi. This is the grace of heaven. If it were mature, its cosmic energies would be incredibly strong, murmured Lin Feng. Even in that incredibly dense forest, there weren't many heavenly grace ancient trees. They were extremely rare. Lin Feng had only located a few of them. According to legends, the first Buddha achieved enlightenment at the foot of a Bodhi tree. That's where he became a Buddha. I wonder if I can make my energies turn into cosmic energies at the foot of this tree, whispered Lin Feng, then walked closer to the tree and sat down cross-legged. He started meditating. Lin Feng's millions of clones also started meditating at the foot of other trees. It didn't matter whether they were mature or not. He had never sensed such powerful cosmic energies. Chapter 1805. Heavenly Grace. Even though his clones didn't have strength, they could still practice cultivation and meditate. In that forest, there were Lin Feng clones everywhere. Lin Feng's real body walked in the air and glanced around. The Godlywood clan was very powerful. Their ancestors had created a real world here and sealed it off. It was their personal property. Many extremely strong cultivators appeared all the time in their clan. Few outsiders dared offend them. At that moment, Lin Feng stopped in the air and gazed into the distance. Ji Chang was in front of a gigantic heavenly grace ancient tree. His hands were at his back, and he seemed to be talking to the tree. The heavenly grace ancient tree seemed to be swallowing some strange lights. Cosmic strength kept rising to the skies. The heavenly grace ancient tree were famous because they contained the cosmic energies of the 10,000 things of creation, the energy of creation. That heavenly grace ancient tree must be so old. I wonder whether it's mature or not, muttered Lin Feng. Even though he was in the air, Ji Chang didn't look at him. He just looked calm and composed. He was talking to the tree. At that moment, some sounds spread out in the air, but they weren't distinct. They sounded like Ji Chang's voice, however. I've heard that many champions usually come here before becoming celestial emperors, and after achieving enlightenment, They usually come back. Which tree can help me become a champion here? Whispered Ji Chong, as if nobody were next to him. Lin Feng was surprised. Champions came to the Godlywood Valley? Besides, according to Ji Chong, champions came to study the cosmic energies of the trees, to become celestial emperors? Suddenly, Ji Chong rose up into the air, his eyes bestial and sharp. He glanced at Lin Feng, and Lin Feng suddenly had the sensation he couldn't move anymore. His heart started pounding. Ji Chong was the strongest young man of Champion University, among people who weren't celestial emperors. Dazzling lights surrounded him. He was really terrifying. At that moment, Ji Chang's eyes were glowing blue. He was looking at some red lights. He jumped and landed on the ground, making it shake violently. Rumbling sounds spread through the air. Dragons appeared, blotting out the sky as they roared. Suddenly, redwood appeared and rose into the skies as fast as lightning. "Where are you going?" asked Ji Chong, waving his hands. Dragons appeared and surrounded the red lights. Subtle sounds spread in the air. The cyan dragons he brought out almost broke apart. The entire tree suddenly rose up in the air. Ji Chong was startled and jumped up, chasing after the redwood. Heavenly Grace Ancient Tree? Lin Feng frowned. Was that redwood a Heavenly Grace Ancient Tree? Why was it so small? Lin Feng took out his boat and chased after the Heavenly Grace Ancient Tree. Ji Chong wanted to steal the redwood. Were the rumors in the outside world not true? Ji Chong wanted to steal a tree. That place was protected by strong cultivators. Nobody prevented Ji Chong from stealing a tree. Did it mean that the strong cultivators accepted letting him steal a tree? Or did it mean that they had confidence in the strength of those trees? Lin Feng chased the Heavenly Grace Ancient Tree and realized that it was too fast. It had turned into a distant beam of red light already. However, at that moment, more dazzling red lights appeared as thunder rumbled, and many people looked over there. Heavenly Grace Ancient Tree. Lin Feng frowned and saw the redwood turn into a strange ancient tree. It was gigantic and looked extremely old. It crashed onto the ground, its roots burrowing down to hold it in place. Vast cosmic energies rose to the skies. At that moment, at the top of a hill, an old man suddenly opened his eyes and gazed into the distance, looking at the Heavenly Grace Ancient Tree. Heavenly Grace Ancient Tree, another powerful one, murmured the old man. Outsiders thought that they were there to protect the trees, but actually they were just guards. Even for the Godlywood clan, it wasn't easy to obtain real Heavenly Grace Ancient Trees. Heavenly Grace Ancient Tree referred to two things: the actual body of the tree, which was a child of the earth and sky, and the heavenly grace which could bless people. In that way, the cultivator could become the owner of a tree. Heavenly Grace Ancient Trees had souls. They were alive. They didn't like being controlled, even by the members of the Godlywood Valley. Only blessed people could obtain Heavenly Grace Ancient Trees. At that moment, Lin Feng landed in front of a Heavenly Grace Ancient Tree. It was gigantic, so big that it made him shiver. Even if Lin Feng were a high-level emperor and released 10 sorts of cosmic energies, they wouldn't have been as powerful as the Heavenly Grace Ancient Tree's cosmic energies. That tree was mature, a true king of trees. At that moment, a terrifying pressure suddenly descended from the sky. A gigantic silhouette appeared and said, "My clan, the Godlywood clan, protects the Heavenly Grace Ancient Trees. Same old rules. People who manage to take away a Heavenly Grace Ancient Tree King can keep them for 100 years. A century from now, please bring them back for future generations to benefit from them." Everybody heard that voice and shook inside. The Godlywood clan are the protectors of the Heavenly Grace Ancient Tree in the Dark Night region? Lin Feng was also intrigued. They were so mysterious. Even in the Edict Palace, he hadn't heard that. People from the outside world didn't understand the Godlywood clan that well. Maybe that the old man of Tantai's tribe knew that, which was why he had said Tantai could go with him. Lin Feng had thought too much. He had made Tantai leave. People who managed to take a tree could keep it for 100 years, and then they had to bring it back. People who could take a tree were already incredibly strong, and the trees were astonishingly strong. However, 100 years was a long time. In the Dark Night region, Nobody comes to the Godlywood Valley to steal trees. There's something mysterious about that, Lin Feng thought. The Godlywood clan didn't own the trees. They were just there to protect them. If someone was talented enough to take a tree away, then they could take them away and keep them for 100 years, allowing every generation to benefit from them. The silhouette in the sky disappeared. Ji Chang and the others looked at that heavenly grace ancient tree. He shook his hands and dragons roared furiously. They surrounded the sturdy tree, and the atmosphere shook as thunder rumbled. The earth kept shaking. However, the heavenly grace ancient tree didn't move. The dragons are extremely powerful, but nothing is happening, thought the crowd. They were amazed and their hearts were racing. Ji Chang had made the tree appear, but the tree refused to accept him as its owner. As the ancestor said, "You can't force a tree to come with you," whispered Ji Chang. He then jumped forwards and sat down cross-legged at the foot of the tree. He looked at the heavenly grace ancient tree and released several types of cosmic energies. Several sorts of cosmic energies, Lin Feng mused watching Ji Chang. The other was displaying his prowess. He wanted the tree to submit. At Ji Chang's back, a dazzling cyan dragon appeared, and several cyan dragon totems appeared as well, while 9 cyan dragons appeared and chanted. They were much more powerful than Ji Wuyo's cyan dragons. Suddenly, another illusion appeared behind Ji Chang. It was a dragon king. Ji Chang really wanted to become a champion, and he needed help. So he wanted the heavenly grace ancient tree to acknowledge him. Chapter 1806. Chosen by the Godlywood, red lights twinkled. Terrifying cosmic energies rose to the skies and blotted out the sun. The crowd saw intertwining red vines among them. Those were probably the viscera of the heavenly grace ancient tree. According to legends, the red Godlywood contained an infinite amount of blood. The one the Godlywood will choose must be like your ancestors. I want you to stay with me and someday I'll become an emperor. I won't disappoint you, said Ji Chang, slowly rising up into the air. 9 dazzling dragons appeared. Lights shone out and surrounded the tree. As expected, when the tree heard Ji Chang, it became even more dazzling. It could understand Ji Chang. At that moment, those watching saw a silhouette appear under the heavenly grace ancient tree. That person looked like an ancient great emperor. He was walking next to the tree, in symbiosis with it. Suddenly, the strong cultivator stretched his hands out and embers appeared. The flames glittered. He exhaled and the embers flew away from his hands and turned into dazzling lights, which moved towards the distant mountain ranges. The small embers rose to the skies before descending and turning into real fire mountains. They looked like true ancient mountains. Eternal strength, whispered Ji Chang after he saw the illusion. Lin Feng and the others shivered too. What a terrifying strength. They all swallowed. That fire was eternal and had turned into a mountain. Ancient kings had their own path. I will have my own path too. I will become a powerful ancient cultivator someday. I won't be a disgrace to the Godlywood, said Ji Chang confidently. He had the soul of a champion. The illusion disappeared. The heavenly grace Godlywood has its own life, thought Lin Feng amazed. Ji Chang was determined and strong. He really had the potential to become an incredible cultivator. He was never satisfied, always wanting to become stronger and stronger. Without the will to become stronger, a cultivator was destined for failure. Thunder rumbled. The heavenly grace ancient tree rose up. The red lights continued blotting out the sky. Suddenly, the tree turned into a bleeding Godlywood. The crowd frowned. Had the tree chosen and acknowledged Ji Chang? The crowd was shivering with excitement. Ji Chang had managed to make the tree submit? Was he going to obtain the tree? At the top of the mountain, the old man looked at that display and sighed. It's the 3rd time in 10 years that a tree chose someone. People are really strong these days. The young people of the Godlywood clan can't compete with them. How many new kings will appear in the next 100 years? Many people were jealous of the Godlywood clan's people because they had the privilege of guarding the forest. Many times, the situation had almost deteriorated. However, the strong and powerful clans didn't attack them because anyone could go there, and if the trees acknowledged people, then they could leave with them. Therefore, letting the Godlywood clan guard the forest wasn't a problem. The heavenly grace godly wood was floating above Ji Chang. The blood-red lights condensed, and at that moment, blood appeared and a drop fell down onto Ji Chang's head and penetrated into his body. Suddenly, Ji Chang's cosmic energies became much more powerful. He looked eternal. "You will follow me for 100 years now," Ji Chang said proudly. Suddenly, the red godly wood started whistling and penetrated into Ji Chang's body. It acknowledged him, thought the crowd in astonishment. They began walking up to him and smiled. "Congratulations, brother Ji Chang. The godly wood acknowledged you. The gods protect you. You will definitely become a king. Brother Ji Chang, you're amazing. Congratulations. You'll soon become a champion." Ji Chang looked aloof and composed. It was a big step for him. Soon he'd become a champion. He suddenly remembered back then when Ing Chung had become a champion. "Ing Chung, wait for me. Ling Tian is gone. Now I'm your new opponent," said Ji Chang sharply, clenching his fist. Qi filled the air. The old man reappeared in the sky. "Ji Chang," shouted the old man. Ji Chang raised his head and said, "What is it, master?" "You can keep the tree for 100 years, and in 100 years you must bring it back. Besides, the heavenly grace ancient tree only has 100 drops of blood. A drop of blood is extremely valuable. When you bring the tree back, it will need 100 years to recover. Remember, it's a priceless creature," the old man said to Ji Chang. Ji Chang nodded obediently and promised, "I'll bring the tree back in 100 years. "Very good," nodded the old man. He wasn't worried about that. People acknowledged by trees were incredible and benefited a lot from the time they spent with trees. They were also very determined. They didn't try to steal the trees forever. Since the tree already chose an owner, Shenmu Qi, "Bring everyone back," said the old man. The crowd was stupefied. "Master," said Lin Feng suddenly. The old man looked at Lin Feng strangely and said, "What do you want?" "Ji Chang has his own tree, but I haven't tried yet. I hope you can give us more for time to try," said Lin Feng to the old man. The old man was surprised. People who try to find a tree here are usually high-level emperors or higher, or at least, they must be at the top of the medium Huangqi layer. However, even though you seem to be a cultivator of the top of the Zunqi layer, it seems that you're hiding your cultivation level. You must have studied some strange and mysterious techniques. Show me your cultivation level." "Low-level emperor," said Lin Feng. Then he released his cosmic energies. The old man frowned. "You can control 10 sorts of cosmic energies? Impressive." "All right, I'll give you a chance. But I have to warn you, people who come here to take godly wood are usually medium-level emperors at the least, and usually they are about to become high-level emperors. I don't think you can succeed." "Thank you, master. I understand. Having a chance is an honor," replied Lin Feng politely. He perfectly understood that with his cultivation level it was going to be difficult. The Godlywood clan didn't even allow their own young people to come to the forest. "No problem. If you can take a tree away, then you'll be able to become much, much stronger. There are a dozen trees. If all the trees are taken away by cultivators, then the region will become extremely powerful," said the old man indifferently before disappearing. The crowd looked at Lin Feng strangely. He was a low-level emperor, and he wanted to try and take a heavenly grace godly wood? It was impossible. "Brother Ji Chang, let's go back. We want to have drinks with you," said Shenmu Qi, smiling at Ji Chang. He didn't feel like staying there. Ji Chang had already obtained a tree. "With pleasure," said Ji Chang, smiling back. He was very happy. He had obtained a heavenly grace godly wood. The others didn't move though. Just like Lin Feng, they also wanted to try and get a tree. After they left, Lin Feng continued running through the forest using his thousands and thousands of clones. At the same time, he released his godly awareness palace, and sensed the powerful cosmic energies all about him. Lin Feng ran at full speed and landed in front of a heavenly grace ancient tree. But that tree wasn't in king, it seemed. However, Lin Feng didn't look at the tree. He looked at the earth next to it. Dong! Lin Feng suddenly jumped. Earthly lights rose up to the skies. Lin Feng started running around like a madman, while the earth shook and cracked. A gigantic tree slowly emerged from the ground, but then it stopped. It didn't leave. Its energies were extremely thick and dense. It was provoking Lin Feng, it seemed. That tree is quite amazing, whispered Lin Feng. Then world strength emerged. It was the world of his spirit. The tree suddenly started shaking violently. The tree turned into a godly wood, and suddenly left in a flash of red lights. Lin Feng frowned. The tree had reacted strangely when it sensed Lin Feng's energies, and even fled. Chapter 1807. Nobody knows what awaits them, but who can't recognize a monarch? Lin Feng used his boat to chase the tree, light following lightning. At the same time, he kept releasing the strength of his spirit world. He wanted to imprison the tree inside. If he managed to catch up with the tree, he'd be able to capture it. Lin Feng didn't have time to be acknowledged by the tree. He wanted to kidnap it. However, Lin Feng hadn't anticipated that the tree would be so sensitive and would escape. The boat was amazingly fast. However, it couldn't catch up with the Heavenly Grace ancient tree. The tree was behaving strangely, moving in an enigmatic manner. Lin Feng was startled. As Lin Feng was chasing the tree, he realized that the trees on the ground had gone still. There was no cosmic energy anywhere anymore. At that moment, the old man sensed something strange. What was going on in the forest? The Heavenly Grace ancient tree can't acknowledge him, muttered the old man, and then closed his eyes again. Lin Feng was a low-level emperor. He couldn't be acknowledged by a Heavenly Grace ancient tree. Such a thing had never happened in the Godlywood Valley. Lin Feng was annoyed and stared after the Heavenly Grace ancient tree. It didn't want to acknowledge him. Was there anything he could do to kidnap the tree? It seemed there was no hope. There were guards. Only incredible geniuses could be acknowledged by the Heavenly Grace ancient trees, and the guards probably paid attention to that. Otherwise, why would there have been guards? As Lin Feng was thinking, a mighty chi rose up in the air, and the ground shook violently. Lin Feng frowned. It's there. Lin Feng stopped and turned around. He looked at the place he had passed by. Another tree was breaking through the soil. Lin Feng's boat suddenly turned around and moved in that direction. The whole forest started shaking violently. At that moment, more terrifying cosmic energies rose up in the air. Lin Feng felt them, and sensed some demonic cosmic energy. Of course he recognized that energy. Boom! The gigantic tree broke through the soil, and appeared in front of Lin Feng. It was much more ancient and majestic than the tree Ji Chang had obtained, truly a tree king. Its chi was unruly, obstinate and powerful. All the 10,000 things of creation submitted to such a creature. Lin Feng was astonished. Suddenly, he jumped off his boat and walked up to the tree. The tree didn't act in a hostile way. Quite to the contrary, it looked friendly, as if it wanted to make friends with Lin Feng. At the top of the mountain, the old man suddenly opened his eyes again. Rumbling sounds spread in the air and above Lin Feng. The old man appeared once again and stared at the Heavenly Grace ancient tree. How is that possible? Wondered the old man. Why had this Heavenly Grace ancient tree shown up? He could remember the last time it had acknowledged someone. Since that person had brought the tree back after 100 years, it hadn't acknowledged anyone else, apparently abandoning all cultivators and refusing to acknowledge people. Many people had tried, but they had all failed in the last 1,000 years. That tree king had abandoned kings and champions. But now it had reappeared. It had voluntarily shown up in front of Lin Feng. Where does that young man come from? Surprisingly, the tree wants to get to know him. Does the tree really want to acknowledge him? The old man was staring at Lin Feng. Ji Chang had obtained a tree. That was no surprise. However, at that moment he was stunned. If Lin Feng had taken a tree, that would have been quite surprising already. But if he managed to take this tree, that would be absolutely astonishing, because he had seen so many people fail with this tree. Lin Feng looked at the Heavenly Grace ancient tree calmly. He didn't release a powerful chi like Ji Chang. He just looked at the tree, as if he were looking at an old friend. You want to come with me? Lin Feng asked the Heavenly Grace ancient tree calmly. The tree turned into an illusion, and a silhouette appeared under it, his hands behind his back, looking arrogant and proud. It's him. Lin Feng frowned. He had already seen that silhouette in the Netherworld Demon Emperor's small world, And of course, he had also heard many rumors about him. Now he was right here in front of him. It was as if there was a connection between Lin Feng and this person. This person was the Demon Emperor. In the small world, before he had broken through to the Huangqi layer, he could kill emperors. 1,000 years had passed since he used to be the strongest, the Demon Emperor. Lin Feng admired the Demon Emperor. As a Zoom cultivator, he could also kill emperors, just as incredible an achievement. At that moment, the Demon Emperor suddenly stretched his hand out to the tree, and the tree became even darker. An imprint appeared, as if it had existed on the tree forever. Nobody knows what awaits them, but who can't recognize a monarch? The instant that sentence appeared on the tree, Lin Feng's heart started pounding. What was going on? The world was big, the continent of the 9 clouds was gigantic. There were also trillions and trillions of people, but such things were rare. Even the old man's heart was pounding. He had seen many geniuses in his life, and he had been a guardian for 2,000 years. He had seen too many geniuses and so many of the so-called champions, but he had never seen such a thing. Lin Feng slowly walked up to the tree, and the tree didn't escape. Lin Feng stretched out his hand and caressed the tree. He touched the words, they looked eternal. Nobody knows what awaits them, but who can't recognize a monarch? He caressed the words as he repeated them, then moved back and looked at the tree again, smiling calmly. Come with me, I won't disappoint you. In 100 years, I'll be the king in the region. In 100 years, I'll be the king in the region. The old man shivered and stared at Lin Feng. Lin Feng and Ji Chang were different. Ji Chang had released a grandiose display. He was already walking on the path of a champion. Lin Feng's chi was different. He was smiling and looked friendly and gentle. But he was saying that he'd become a champion within 100 years. The only common point they had was their self-confidence. They were sure they would become peerless cultivators someday. The heavenly grace ancient tree kept shaking. Terrifying rumbling sounds spread in the air. The gigantic tree started shining as it turned into a black stick, a rare wooden stick. Nobody managed to control that tree in 1,000 years. And now it's really going to acknowledge that young man? Thought the old man. His heart was pounding. The tree was above Lin Feng's head. A black drop fell from the tree onto Lin Feng and penetrated into his body. It looked like blood. Before the tree flew into Lin Feng's body. It acknowledged him. The old man frowned. He was astonished. The tree hadn't acknowledged anyone for 1,000 years. And now it acknowledged this young man. Lin Feng smiled calmly. He had succeeded and obtained a heavenly grace godly wood. Now he would be able to cure Emperor Wu Tianjian's injury, and on top of that, the tree would be very beneficial to him. Young man, said a voice at that moment. Lin Feng raised his head and smiled at the old man. Master, thank you very much. You only relied on yourself, I didn't do anything, smiled the old man calmly. Tell me your name and where you come from. My name is Lin Feng, and I'm a student at Champion University in the Holy City, said Lin Feng politely. Your clan? Asked the old man again. I come from a small world. I didn't know about the great world before. And regarding my clan, Lin Feng just smiled. He didn't need to say much. The old man already understood. He didn't come from a strong clan. A small world. You didn't even know about the great world, whispered the old man. Then he smiled and said, Go and remember to come back in 100 years. Thank you, master, said Lin Feng, bowing to the old man before departing. The old man stared at Lin Feng and smiled. Champion University, Lin Feng, I'll remember your promise. In 100 years you'll be a king. Chapter 1808. Getting ready to go back in the banquet at the palace, people were drinking and laughing. Ji Chang was at the center of attention. Brother Ji Chang, a tree acknowledged you. You'll soon become a champion. When you become a champion, I'll come and see you. You're amazing, flattering Shenmu Qi, raising his glass and smiling at Ji Chang. I'd be very happy if you did, replied Ji Chang, smiling politely. I'll come too. I wish you much success, brother Ji Chang, said a woman laughing and raising her glass. The crowd was having fun. At that moment, the crowd was overflowing with amazement. Ji Chang was a proud student at Champion University in the Holy City. He had obtained heavenly grace godly wood, and would definitely become much stronger within a short time. Someone is coming. A few silhouettes had appeared. They looked dispirited. Shin Muyin smiled. Brothers, did you obtain anything? I didn't. None of the heavenly grace ancient trees acknowledged me. I need to become stronger, and then I'll come back and try again, said one of them indifferently. Shin Muqi nodded and said, Please come back then. I'll lead the way. I'm sure a tree will acknowledge you sooner or later. Thank you very much, Brother Shin Mu, said the few cultivators nodding. Shin Muyin asked, Has that guy come out? Oh, we saw him chase a tree with a boat. We don't know where he is now, replied one of them. The crowd smiled indifferently at the news, their focus on other things. He overestimated himself, whispered some people indifferently. They didn't despise weak cultivators, but Lin Feng had overestimated himself. He had thought a heavenly grace godly tree would acknowledge him, even though he only had the strength of a low-level emperor. Such a thing had never happened. Chang Lin looked embarrassed and whispered, Poor Lin Feng. He thought he could obtain a heavenly grace godly tree. He was dreaming. He shook his head as the people continued having fun and drinking. Someone else soon arrived. People raised their heads and looked at them. It was Lin Feng. They all looked amused that he had finally come back. When Lin Feng saw that everyone was staring at him, he understood. Many people wanted to make fun of him, but he didn't feel like explaining anything. He immediately went to Chang Lin and smiled. Brother Chang Lin, I have things to do. I'm off. Are you leaving? Asked Chang Lin surprised. Lin Feng had brought so many good things to trade, and now he wanted to leave. He understood that Lin Feng felt awkward though, so he could understand why he wanted to leave. Brother Lin Feng, we'll meet again, said Chang Lin nodding and smiling. Lin Feng looked at the crowd and said, Everybody, I'm off. Lin Feng then left as quickly as he could. He had already obtained a tree, so he had nothing to do there anymore. The crowd watched him go strangely. Of course, Lin Feng was just a guest there. They would quickly forget him. Lin Feng sat in his boat as he left the Godlywood Valley. Nobody prevented him from leaving. He back out to the great shiny mountain as his clone disappeared. It had been a great trip. Thanks to the nice old man who had allowed him to stay a little longer, he had obtained a tree. Lin Feng didn't leave the great shiny mountain immediately, however. He was looking for a hidden cave. An ancient pitch-black tree appeared indistinctly. Several kinds of cosmic energies condensed. The whole cave was filled with cosmic energies. However, Lin Feng was annoyed. The heavenly grace ancient tree was a child of the earth and sky. Even though the demon emperor used to control that tree, its cosmic energies were still the cosmic energies of the earth and sky, and Lin Feng's cosmic energies were different. In the real world, Lin Feng had to rely on his own cosmic energies. He could use cosmic energies in the outside world to practice cultivation, but he couldn't use them to fight. Understanding cosmic energies and using them were different things. As long as it has all sorts of cosmic energies, it's beneficial for me. It is connected to all things. In the world of his spirit, Lin Feng made the tree appear, and suddenly powerful cosmic energies rose to the skies. The cosmic energies of the 10,000 things of creations of the real world penetrated into his own world. Lin Feng was seated cross-legged at the foot of the tree and studying its cosmic energies. 2 months later, terrifying cosmic energies rose to the skies from the cave. They were very thick and overflowing. If there had been people near enough to see, they would have noticed him from quite far away and have easily sensed the energies. Lin Feng came out of the cave. His boat appeared again, and he jumped into it. He was ready to leave the great shiny mountain. In the holy city, in Champion University, during those few months, Tiantai continued becoming stronger. Jing Shou and Yin Qingyan had continued recruiting people. At the same time, Ho Qinglin took people out to travel and practice cultivation. Tiantai didn't mind whether their new members were old or new students in Champion University, but they had to adhere to Tiantai's philosophy. There couldn't be rivalries between the members, or they ran the risk of being expelled. Of course, becoming a core member of Tiantai was extremely difficult. They had to take an exam. Many strong cultivators noticed that Tiantai was rising. Lin Feng had told the Moon Group that within 3 years he'd challenge them. 3 years was so short. Even very talented low-level emperors couldn't become medium-level emperors within 3 years. But Tiantai had said they'd challenge the Moon Group. Ji Cheng's club star group kept declining. Ji Wuyo and Yuan Jing were practicing cultivation really hard, and rarely showed up. Ji Wuyo couldn't accept his defeat, and was going insane. He wanted to become extremely strong and fight against Lin Feng again. The next time he fought against Lin Feng, they might be on the medium ranking list. Everybody knew that Lin Feng and Ji Wuyo now had the strength of the medium ranking list, but they just hadn't thought about going up against those people. Two people appeared in Champion University and headed straight to Tiantai. "That's Lin Feng, but who's that?" asked Yin Qingyan when she saw a young man walking next to Lin Feng. He looked extremely strong and noble. That person couldn't be from Champion University, otherwise, she would have recognized him. Jun Emoshi, from King of Hell Palace, introduced Lin Feng. Yin Qingyan was astonished. Her beautiful eyes twinkled as she smiled at Jun Emoshi. "You're Jun Emoshi, the Prince of Hell." "That's me." Jun Emoshi smiled back and nodded at Yin Qingyan. He appeared quite friendly and easygoing. "This is Yin Qingyan," Lin Feng said to Jun Emoshi. At that moment, many people came out. "Jun Emoshi, what are you doing here?" asked Huang Fulong, smiling at Jun Emoshi. Ho Qinglin and Tianqi also came out. They were surprised Jun Emoshi had come. "I asked Jun Emoshi to come. I need to talk to you all," said Lin Feng to Ho Qinglin and Tianqi. "Brothers, I need to go back." "Go back." Ho Qinglin and Tianqi's eyes lit up. However, they looked pensive. Tiantai wasn't weak. They would have no problem in the small world. But the 9 great celestial castles' leaders were high-level emperors. They couldn't possibly defeat them. "Brothers, the only group which can pose a threat to us is Qingdi Mountain," said Lin Feng. "We can consider the journey as a cultivation challenge. Also, our world should be at peace." "All right, let's go back," said Ho Qinglin. Besides, they wanted to find their teachers. Lin Feng had told them their friends were in Yaoyi Island. They could finally go and see them. "I agree too," said Tianqi with a nod. Lin Feng smiled. "Since you agree, let's choose some people from Tiantai to come with us. The others can stay with Qing Yin and Jing Shou." Chapter 1809. Memories. Lin Feng called some members of Tiantai over very quickly. Ho Qinglin, Tianqi, Jun Emoshi, and he were sure to go back. Huang Fulong wasn't interested in going back to the small world. He preferred staying in the great world and practicing cultivation with the other members of Tiantai. Qing Feng and Wu wanted to travel with Lin Feng and the others. Swan wanted to stay there. Tantai and Qin Wu also wanted to follow Lin Feng. Yun Qingyan wanted to follow Lin Feng, but he refused because she had to stay there to manage Tiantai. Besides, she was a medium-level emperor and had a particular social status, so she could solve many problems. Shimen Xiao, Qiuming, and Yi could help her. Jing Shou could take people away to practice cultivation. At the same time, he could choose suitable people and teach them things. After all, Champion University's students weren't ordinary, and not all of them wanted to become assassins. They were all free to choose their own path. So 8 people: Lin Feng, Ho Qinglin, Tianqi, Jun Emoshi, Qing Feng Wu, Tantai and Qin Wu, got ready to travel. Lin Feng and the others left quickly, not wanting to waste time. After all, 3 years from now they had to fight against the Moon Group. That wasn't something insignificant. They had to become really, really strong, and they also had to remain good fighters. The Moon Group didn't cause any trouble and gave them time. The members of the Moon Group wouldn't waste their time on silly things either. After leaving Champion University, the group of people sat in Lin Feng's boat. However, there were 9 silhouettes in the boat, as Lin Feng had released a clone too. Lin Feng's clone was driving the boat, and Lin Feng's real body was sleeping. He was in his spirit world, not wasting time. The others didn't waste time either. Their eyes closed in meditation. Sometimes, they opened their eyes when they were tired, so they could enjoy the landscapes. For the people of Goldfire City, the holy city was another world, with different people and different things. They were proud of their Goldfire Tower. The Goldfire City was a town for weapon crafters. There were weapon-making clans everywhere, and people admired them, especially people who were from the northern part of the city. The Mu clan had already surpassed the Yin clan and had become the strongest weapon manufacturing clan. There were many talented young people there, including Mu Lin Shui. Mu Lin Shui had already broken through to the Huangqi layer and become a core disciple at the Gold Fire Tower. Everybody admired her. Back then, the teachers had recruited disciples, and the old man who had recruited her as a disciple was a celestial emperor. Even the leader of the Gold Fire Tower addressed him respectfully. It seemed that the old man came from vast celestial ancient city. Such cultivators were considered extremely strong in the Gold Fire City. When people heard that such a cultivator had recruited her as a disciple, they were astounded. Even her clan benefited from such things. Mu Lin Shui and Mui had particular positions in their clan now. Things had changed a lot for them. Mu Qingying was living a happy life. She had gotten married to a young man from the Sima clan, a clan from the eastern part of the city. Sima Nan initially wanted to marry Mu Lin Shui, but she had refused. Then Mu Qingying had expressed her interest, so now they were married, and they made weapons together. At that moment, Sima Nan and Mu Qingying were outside of the Gold Fire Tower, where they were in charge of the competition. The competition was different from when Lin Feng was there. Yin Feng and others had competed to manage the competition, but the teachers had chosen Sima Nan. Qingying, the competition is fun. Look, 2 people have already made an imperial weapon. They're already level 1 professors, that's rare, said Sima Nan, pointing out a group and smiling. Indeed not bad. But they're much weaker than you back then, said Mu Qingying with a smile. She could remember the competition back then. She could remember how arrogant she used to be. When she thought of that, she had the impression she had been ridiculous. She also remembered that bastard, the perverted guy with whom she had collaborated. What a humiliation. But now she had changed, and she also understood that back then Lin Feng didn't have time to explain anything to her. He had never needed to prove anything to her. Sima Nan remembered that competition too. He took a deep breath and said, back then, Yin Feng was also talented. His imperial weapons were great. He also broke through to the Huangqi layer shortly afterwards. Unfortunately, he had to face Lin Feng, otherwise, Yin Feng would have been the champion. Lin Feng could kill emperors with the strength of the Zunqi layer. And now Hen Changtian and Guqing Feng all became much stronger. I wonder how strong Lin Feng has become. Let's hope he didn't become stronger than you, said Mu Qingying laughing. That guy was cruel. But in Gold Fire City, even 4-5-year-old children knew about Lin Feng's story. Mu Qingying didn't know that Lin Feng was in the crowd. He could see Qingying and Sima Nan. Surprisingly, they had gotten married. Lin Feng was surprised, but happy for them. Even though Mu Qingying had changed, she still had a bad temper. That weapon crafter is strange. Apart from controlling a weapon manufacturing technique, he can also understand deployment spells. How complex, Tantai said to Lin Feng. By the way, Lin Feng, your deployment spells are incredible. Can you make weapons too? Back then, I participated in this very competition. I ranked first. I was the champion, replied Lin Feng with a laugh. Tantai's eyes twinkled. He said cheerfully, awesome, you'll help me learn about weapons then. Lin Feng, my boy, you finally came back to see us, exclaimed Duanmu, smiling at Lin Feng. The crowd was astonished. A celestial emperor was calling Lin Feng my boy? It meant that they knew each other. A celestial emperor had come out personally to greet Lin Feng. Chapter 1810. Can I come with you? Master Duanmu. Lin Feng smiled. Master Duanmu, you came back to the Gold Fire Tower. At my cultivation level, you want to go back to simplicity. You want to enjoy life. You want to enjoy the simple pleasures of life. If the conditions are not appropriate to become a saint emperor, then it's too hard. It doesn't matter anymore anyway. Duanmu smiled calmly. Lin Feng was surprised but then thought it over. Indeed, people like Duanmu had seen enough in life. He was a celestial emperor. He was extremely strong. He wanted to enjoy the simple things in life. The crowd was dumbstruck. Among them, only a few people knew that Lin Feng and Duanmu knew each other. Even Mu Lin Xue didn't know this. Someone had just gone to find them to tell them that Lin Feng was back, so the teachers had gone to find her. However, her heart was pounding. She had millions of thoughts suddenly. Even though she was quite talented, someone like Sima Nan wasn't weaker than her. So the fact that Duanmu had recruited her as a disciple was incredible. She was extremely lucky. She didn't understand before, but now she understood why. It had to be because of Lin Feng, because he knew Duanmu. Only Lin Feng could have asked him to take care of her. Without Lin Feng, he would have never recruited her. Mu Lin Xue looked at Lin Feng with love in her eyes and said, "Lin Feng, a long time has passed. You didn't even send me a message. I didn't want to disturb you while you were practicing cultivation." Lin Feng smiled back. Years had passed. Mu Lin Xue had long broken through to the Huangqi layer. She looked more mature and even more beautiful. Hee. Tantai laughed. Lin Feng looked at him angrily. Was he stupid or what? How could he laugh? Jun Emoshi, the Prince of Hell. Princess Qing Feng from the animal world. Wu, the sun supernatural bird. How incredible. Lin Feng, you don't even introduce me to your friends? Said Duanmu as he glanced at Lin Feng's friends. When the members of the Gold Fire Tower heard Duanmu, they were astonished. These people with Lin Feng, they were astonishingly strong. The Prince of Hell, the Princess of the animal world, the sun supernatural bird. Those people were terrifying. Lin Feng had become much stronger, if he was with such incredible cultivators. Master Duanmu, you're too kind, said Junemoshi, bowing before Duanmu. After all, he was an incredible cultivator. They had to respect him. Master Duanmu, Junemoshi, Qingfeng. And Wu, no one answers. That's Ho Qing Lin and that's Tian Qi. And they're Tantai and Qin Wu. They are all my friends and students at Champion University, said Lin Feng. Duanmu's eyes twinkled. You really joined Champion University? Yes, after leaving the vast celestial ancient city, I went to the holy city, and I joined Champion University. It's been a while, Lin Feng sighed. Duanmu nodded. All right, you didn't disappoint me. You're a real genius. I hope you can become a champion. When I become a champion, I hope you'll come to the ceremony, smiled Lin Feng. Duanmu's eyes glittered sharply. He nodded and said, all right, no matter where I am in the future, I'll try to keep current with the news of the holy city. If you become a champion, I'll come. The crowd was astonished by the conversation. Even though they didn't understand everything Duanmu and Lin Feng were talking about, they could see that it concerned serious matters that they couldn't imagine. Duanmu obviously thought highly of Lin Feng. Maybe Lin Feng would become a terrifying cultivator someday? It seems that the champion of the competition back then became a strong cultivator, thought many people. Mu Qingying's eyes were twinkling as she watched Lin Feng. He only had the strength of the Zunqi layer, but Duanmu was talking to him that way. He was probably hiding his real cultivation level. Everybody, let's go to the Gold Fire Tower, Duanmu declared, smiling at Lin Feng and the others. Everybody walked into the tower at his words. Many people were agitated. Those terrifying geniuses were here. Duanmu was welcoming them himself. And there were students from Champion University. What was going on? Lin Feng and the others followed Duanmu into the tower, and they all headed to a courtyard. Lin Feng, do you need to do anything here? Duanmu asked Lin Feng. Lin Feng wouldn't have needed to come with so many people if he had just come to visit. I do, said Lin Feng nodding. I need to solve some issues in the 9 great celestial castles. We're going back this time. Lin Feng, I need to warn you of something, said the teacher in golden purple clothes. He was the level 9 professor who had judged their competition before. Master, is there something wrong? Asked Lin Feng. Last time we went to vast celestial ancient city, a cultivator from the everlasting palace chased us, and then came to the tower. He didn't attack us directly, but after that, I investigated a little, and I found out that Sword Mountain had informed the everlasting palace of your whereabouts. They told them where you were, said the professor. Because you have a friend in Sword Mountain. I was extremely worried. I hoped you wouldn't go there. Don't go there. Sword Mountain. Lin Feng's eyes shone. Sword Mountain wanted to kill him? Sword Mountain weren't his enemies. The only two people who connected him to Sword Mountain were Wuxia and Emperor Wu Tianjian. Wuxia was a disciple of Sword Mountain, so he couldn't have tried to hurt him. So what about Emperor Wu Tianjian? Emperor Taijian had fought against Emperor Wu Tianjian many years before. Lin Feng didn't know why. Did Emperor Taijian hate Emperor Wu Tianjian that much? Lin Feng couldn't believe it. But that was the only possibility. After all, when he went to Sword Mountain, nothing wrong had happened. And what about my good friend Wuxia? Lin Feng asked of the professor. I haven't heard of him. When you left, I heard that he had gone traveling to choose his own path, replied the professor earnestly. All right, good, said Lin Feng frowning. Duanmu looked at him. Lin Feng, do you want to go to Sword Mountain? I can take you there. Lin Feng, Sword Mountain has many cultivators in Goldfire City. They'll soon know you're here. Let him go with you, said Mu Lin Shui. She was very worried. After all, Sword Mountain had great emperors. Lin Feng couldn't do anything against them. No need. We're not enemies, said Lin Feng, shaking his head. Even if Emperor Taijian shows up, I'll tell him my social status. If a great emperor dares fight against me, Sword Mountain will be wiped off the map, said Lin Feng. Indeed, they weren't enemies. And Emperor Wu Tianjian, and he weren't that close either. They just got along quite well. Qing Feng and Wu had memories with their clan. If Emperor Taijian dared attack, the animal clan would destroy Sword Mountain. Alright, not bad. I'll transmit some memories to you. If you are in danger, let me know, Duanmu said, opening his third eye, which emitted dazzling lights. He put the lights in a talisman and gave the talisman to Lin Feng. If you have a problem, break the talisman and I'll come. Thank you very much, master, bowed Lin Feng. Duanmu was extremely generous. If Qing Di Mountain attacked him, he could ask a celestial emperor for help. The group of them spent more time with the elders, and then it was time to leave. Duanmu, thank you again for today. I'll come back to the Gold Fire Tower to see you again. I'm off. Are you leaving? Duanmu asked. Why are you in such a hurry? Master Duanmu, I can't waste time. In Champion University, the competition is extremely high, said Lin Feng. Duanmu nodded. Champion University's geniuses are determined. No problem, be off with you. Teacher, said Mu Lin Shui, standing up right then. What? You want to abandon your teacher and leave? Said Duanmu, smiling. I transmitted some techniques to you, and you need to choose your own path now. If you need anything, come and find me. Thank you very much, teacher, said Mu Lin Shui. She sounded like a little girl, and was smiling like one. Then, Mu Qingning looked at Mu Lin Shui and said, Sister Lin Shui, are you? I'm going to trave, smiled Mu Lin Shui. She looked at Lin Feng and said, I want to go and travel with you. You can't refuse, right? When Lin Feng heard Mu Lin Shui, he smiled wryly, but Duanmu had nodded his assent. Lin Feng didn't know how to refuse. All right, you can temporarily stay with us. We'll come back to Goldfire City on the way back anyway, Lin Feng agreed. He also wanted to bring Mu Lin Shui back to her clan for a visit. Chapter 1811. On Yaoyi Island at the Yaoyi Islands, bestial qi was floating above the millions of islands. At that moment on one of them, an explosive qi rolled out, dust floated in the air, stones exploded, and the ground crackled. Two gigantic apes were fighting. They both looked like gigantic towers. Great wooden sticks filled the sky, bearing terrible and explosive power. At that moment, a pitch-black demon hand came slamming down, explosive thunder erupting as it did. The fist shadow crushed the rising energies, which returned to the void. Haha, Yuan Fei, you lost again, said the great earth demon ape, laughing loudly. Yuan Fei looked exhausted. Damn it. Come again, said Yuan Fei, holding his wooden stick. He refused to lose. Forget about it. Yuan Fei, you already progressed a lot, said the gigantic ape. The great ape emperor was there too, all three apes in company with one another. Hee, I still have to destroy the celestial qi castle. I'm still not strong enough, said Yuan Fei. Back then, the celestial qi castle had taken control of him. He had to get his revenge. Yes, your father is still in the mountain of flowers and fruit in the small world. I wonder how he's doing, mused the great ape emperor. His gigantic eyes were twinkling. The entrance to the small world had probably been sealed already. They couldn't go back. We've all made great progress, Ban Ruali Hen. Xingzhan are all emperors. Someday, we'll go back and destroy the celestial Qi castle, said Yuan Fei loudly. His eyes were shining. Yuan Fei, someone called out at that moment. A few people had arrived. Yuan Fei raised his head and saw Ban Rua and the others. He smiled and said, I was just talking about you guys and now you're here. Are you getting ready to go and travel a bit? Indeed. We've been back for a while already. We should go travel and practice now, said Xingzhan. He didn't like staying in the same place all the time. All right. What about you, Grandpa? Asked Yuan Fei to the great ape emperor. You can go. I'm not coming, said the great ape emperor, shaking his head. He was old. He couldn't keep up with the young people anymore. All right, we're going, smiled Yuan Fei. He didn't want to waste time. He immediately rose up into the air. However, he saw people in the distance coming towards them quickly. What's that? They're so fast, thought Yuan Fei and the others, gazing into the distance. They frowned and stopped moving. The light beam was getting closer and resolved itself into an ancient boat carrying many young people. Suddenly, Yuan Fei's eyes went wide, staring at the boat. Lin Feng and Ho Qing Lin Tianqi and Jun Emoshi. Ban Rua and the others recognized the people who were coming. They could see them now. Their hearts accelerated as the boat finally stopped in front of them. Brothers Lin Feng, Ban Rua and the others greeted their friends. They were back. Ban Rua Li Hen Xingzhan. Ho Qing Lin walked over to them, and they all bumped fists hard. Tianqi followed, smiling. So many years had passed, and finally, they were together again. Brother. They looked at Ho Qing Lin, who looked even more amazing than before. Lin Feng grinned widely. 6 of us are reunited. And with Ruaxia we're 7. For people are still missing, as well as our teachers. Tiantai's disciples will definitely gather again, proclaimed Tianqi loudly. Lin Feng, you're good. You found Ho Qing Lin and Tianqi. Ban Rua exclaimed to Lin Feng. Back then, he had also saved them from the celestial Qi castle. We bumped into each other in the holy city. Now we came back to see you. We want to do what our teachers wanted us to do. We also recreated Tiantai in the holy city. Lin Feng beamed. Lin Feng is right. We recreated Tiantai in the holy city. This time we came back because we want to go to Ba Huang. Things should change in the 9 great celestial castles. Ho Qing Lin said grimly. The 9 great celestial castles controlled their small world and considered the strong cultivators of the small world as prey. They had to change that. Ban Rua frowned. Brother, even though we all became stronger, I don't think we're ready for the 9 great celestial castles. They all have high-level emperors. Even medium-level emperors are difficult to defeat. If we go back, Ban Rua stopped talking when he thought about that. Unless the members of Yaoyi Island helped them, they couldn't return to the 9 great celestial castles. Don't worry. We have many good things, smiled Ho Qing Lin dangerously. Ban Rua and the others nodded. Since Ho Qing Lin said that, it meant they knew what they were doing. They all couldn't wait for the day when they'd destroy the celestial Qi castle. Let's go. Let's go and see Master Xinyu. And then let's head to the 9 great celestial castles, proposed Lin Feng. They were at Yaoyi Island. They had to go and greet the elders. Doing otherwise would be impolite. Yes, Hu Yu missed you, said Xingzhan. Lin Feng's eyes twinkled. How was Hu Yu doing? Demon ape, come with us, Lin Feng said to the great earth demon ape. The ape descended from the sky and landed in front of Lin Feng. His chi was terrifying and oppressive. What? You came back, and you don't want to fight against me? Asked the demon ape, smiling at Lin Feng. Back then, Lin Feng used to go and fight against him all the time to practice. You kept humiliating me back then, but you can't anymore, grinned Lin Feng cheerfully. The demon ape said, You show off. Come here and fight. Then, the great earth demon ape stepped back and sent Lin Feng a challenging look. Lin Feng smiled indifferently before charging ahead with his wind speed. He was much faster than before. The great earth demon ape also jumped forwards and shouted furiously. The earth and the sky shook. The ape raised his hand, which blotted out the sun and came slamming down. Lin Feng raised his fist too. He didn't dodge the attack. Their fists collided violently. A terrifying strength rocked everyone. The great earth demon ape had the sensation that his forearm was broken. He was driven backwards, staring at Lin Feng as he was forced away. "What do you think?" asked Lin Feng. He was standing there motionless, grinning at the big ape. His friends were astonished. Lin Feng and the great earth demon ape had a similar physical strength. He even won against the ape. "Little boy, you progress way too fast," sighed the great earth demon ape, scratching his furry head. He looked annoyed. "I need to practice more." He came down to join them, nevertheless. Lin Feng watched him and laughed. Then, the group of friends headed off to meet the elders of Yaoyi Island. After a short time, they landed on an island thick with bestial qi. A silhouette in red appeared, jumping over to Lin Feng and hugging him. "Lin Feng, little brother, you came back to see your sister," said Huyu cutely. Lin Feng was speechless. She hadn't changed at all. "Sister Huyu, so many of my friends are here. I can't spend too much time with you, I'm sorry," replied Lin Feng. Huyu looked at them approvingly and smiled. "Good little boy. Your friends are really strong. And there are 2 beautiful girls too. No wonder you forgot about me." "How could I?" said Lin Feng, smiling wryly. He glanced at Shenyu, begging for some help here. Emperor Shenyu glanced at Huyu and sighed. "You can leave him alone now. Mind your own business," sniffed Huyu, but she still let Lin Feng go. "Is everyone all right?" Lin Feng asked Shenyu. Shenyu nodded. Sharp lights glittered in his eyes as he asked, "Lin Feng, you and so many of your friends came here. Is there a specific reason?" "Yes, we want to go back to Qingdi Mountain. We need to sort out some issues." Lin Feng nodded. "Do you need Yaoyi Island's help? After all, Qingdi Mountain is a great imperial group." Emperor Shenyu was worried for them. Uncle Shenyu, the great emperor of Qingdi Mountain, wouldn't dare show up. "And we can deal with the others," replied Lin Feng, smiling confidently. Shenyu, Huyu and the others looked impressed. Huyu smiled. "I want to come with you and have some fun." Lin Feng looked at her. What did she want to do? "Don't worry. I won't disturb you," said Huyu. Lin Feng could only smile wryly and nod. "All right. Hee, let's go. I'll take you to your little girlfriend. She missed you," said Huyu, hugging Lin Feng again before they left. Everybody looked at her strangely. Chapter 18:12. Apparition of a palace. The little girlfriend Huyu was talking about was Mu Yin. Mu Yin was very happy to see Lin Feng, and smiled at him gently. She was so happy to see him that she didn't know what to say. She just forgot to talk. "You're so beautiful," said Lin Feng. He didn't know what to say, so he just said that and smiled. Mu Yin shivered and blushed deeply. "How's your journey going?" asked Mu Yin, changing the topic quickly. She still looked every bit as beautiful and gentle as before. "It's going all right. And you, aren't you bored here?" Lin Feng asked her. Mu Yin shook her head and said calmly, "I'm not bored. I study a lot. I learned how to make many new sorts of herbal potions and drugs. Sometimes when I have time, Sister Huyu helps me practice cultivation. I'm very happy here. I don't miss the tribe at all. I'm going back there. If you want to go to the tribe, you can come with me." Lin Feng knew that Mu Yin was a simple person, and didn't want to become an extremely strong cultivator, as she didn't like competition. She used to be a priestess, and just like before, she just wanted to help people. "Go back." Mu Yin looked stupefied. "Can we go back?" "Yes. Nobody will dare oppress the tribes in the desert anymore. We're going to crush the 9 great celestial castles," promised Lin Feng, smiling and nodding at her. Mu Yin looked at her thatched hut as an old man came out and told her, "Yun, if you want to go back, you can. You can come back and stay with me sometimes." "Teacher," said Mu Yin. Huyu flitted over next to her, smiled and said, "Sister Yun, don't worry, you can go back. You must be bored being all alone in Yaoyi Island. Go with Lin Feng, he'll take care of you." Mu Yin glanced at Lin Feng and shook her head. "I'm going back to the tribe. If I stay with Lin Feng, I'll just bring him trouble." Alright, say goodbye to your teacher then. Who you told her? Mu Yin walked over to the thatched hut and spoke for a time with the old man. Although she was sad to do so, she was going to leave. After leaving, Hu Yu moved even faster than Lin Feng, as if she were in a hurry. Lin Feng was speechless. Lin Feng, after you left, a great emperor of the everlasting palace came here. Surprisingly, he spent 2 years in Yaoyi Island. He was very patient. But in the end, since he didn't find you, he left. Hu Yu smiled icily as they flew along. Lin Feng doubted that the everlasting palace would forget about him. They had also chased him on the path from Goldfire City to vast celestial ancient city. Surprisingly, they had also sent people to Yaoyi Island. The 3 of them went back to the others. The group was even stronger now with Ban Rua, Xing Zhan, Li Hen, Yuan Fei, and Hu Yu added to their numbers. Are you leaving? Shen Yu asked Lin Feng and the others. Yes, Uncle Shen Yu. I'm truly happy to see that you're all still fine. Lin Feng bowed to the elder. Cultivators were straightforward here. Everyone was fine. That was the most important thing. Alright, Hu Yu will stay with you. The situation could be dangerous. If Emperor Enichen causes trouble, remind him of the agreement. I don't mind teaching him a lesson and showing him how weak his disciple was. Emperor Shen Yu said evenly. Lin Feng nodded agreement. Back then, when Emperor Shen Yu had taken Lin Feng away, Emperor Enichen and Emperor Shen Yu had agreed to have a contest at some point to see whose disciple was the strongest. If Emperor Shen Yu hadn't reminded Lin Feng of that, Lin Feng wouldn't have remembered. He had really forgotten about it. After all, Qi Yuchen and Zhou Tianrua couldn't compete with him anymore. Enichen favorite disciple was Wen Ao Feng. Even if he was a real genius, and even if he had already become a low-level emperor a long time ago, he couldn't possibly have broken through to the medium Huangqi layer. Not everyone could be like Chu Chunqiu. Uncle Shen Yu, Uncle see you. Lin Feng waved at everyone. Ban Rua and everyone else waved too as their group left. They were finally going to Qingdi Mountain. There were a dozen people in the boat already, with 4 beautiful women among them. Qing Feng, Mu Yin, Mu Lin Shui, and Hu Yu. They were all beautiful in their own way. Hu Yu kept provoking Lin Feng and asking him about his relationship with Qing Feng. She also asked him if Mu Lin Shui liked him or not. She found it amusing. She knew about everybody. And she also knew about the things Lin Feng had done in the holy city. Even though she enjoyed annoying Lin Feng, everybody in the boat liked her and found her funny. It was a pleasant journey, especially as the people got to know another. After all, they all knew each other thanks to Lin Feng. So many years had passed, and Qingdi Mountain was a gigantic territory. Nothing major had happened there. People had their own lives in their own castles. Cultivators could choose their own path. The members of the 9 great celestial castles were no different. Even though there were still tensions between various cultivators, they still lived peacefully together. However, all in all, everybody understood that there were important tensions between Celestial Qi Castle and Celestial Wen Castle. After all, the Celestial Wen Castle had taken control over the small world, and were going to manage it for 10,000 years. At the same time, because of Lin Feng, tensions had appeared between the Palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine and the Celestial Qi Castle. After he left, the situation had become better, but the battles between their members were still intense, especially between their younger people. Even those who eventually joined Qingdi Mountain were like that. In the buffer zone of the 9 great celestial castles, there were many people gathered at a certain vendor's booth. Xia Tianfan was walking down the street. He had just bought some ore and emerged from a pavilion. He frowned. What's going on here? Surprisingly, there are so many purple meteorites. They are very useful for holy marks. They can also be used to fabricate weapons and to carve deployment spell marks. But why would someone need so many? Besides, they're quite expensive. Buying them in bulk requires lots of money. Xia Tianfan frowned. He didn't understand. Who was buying so many meteorites? Purple meteorites have limits, but they're very hard. Even emperors can't easily destroy them. Only 2 people have stock in the 9 great celestial castles, the Celestial Wen Castle and the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness. They probably want to know who those people are more than we do, spoke up someone next to Xia Tianfan. They didn't understand. How much did so many purple meteorites cost? And who was behind such a transaction? I want to know why he needs so many purple meteorites, whispered Xia Tianfan. He raised his head and looked at the people in front of him. Zhou Tianrua and Wen Tiange. Brother Xia, I trust you have been doing well since we last met. Zhou Tianrua greeted him cordially. Xia Tianfan. Xia Tianfan ignored him indifferently and looked to Wen Tiange, angering Zhou Tianrua. Xia Tianfan was such a bastard, giving him no face whatsoever. Do those people want other things? Xia Tianfan asked Wen Tiange. They do. They also want red fire stones, melted golden sand, and they want to buy in bulk, admitted Wen Tiange. Xia Tianfan shivered. Those materials were extremely hard. People use such materials to build secret rooms. What did they want to do? Can the Celestial Wind Castle say who the buyer is? Asked Xia Tianfan. Wen Tiange shook his head. I just know that they're from a terrifyingly powerful clan. They paid a good price, so we couldn't refuse the transaction. We'll quickly know what they want to do, Wen Tiange said, nodding to Xia Tianfan before leaving. Wen Tiange was right. 10 days later, they learned what those people wanted to do. In the buffer zone in the space of one night, palaces appeared in a picturesque disorder, the corridors all intertwining. It looked like a new small town. Someone had destroyed the other buildings, which were there initially. Nobody complained, which meant they had been paid well. When the crowd saw this, they were as astonished as if they had seen a mysterious thing. Cultivators had incredible powers, but building such a city in one night was incredible, especially using such materials. That wasn't a small world created by an emperor. People had built those buildings with the materials purchased recently. Chapter 1813. Offering Great Imperial Scriptures. Yesterday evening, I heard loud sounds and my apartment kept shaking. When I came here, I saw those palaces, spoke up someone in the crowd. He had been shocked during the night. I can confirm that I live over there. Someone came up to me and paid me to find a new place. I accepted. I walked away and when I turned around I saw that, said someone else. They were all curious. Who had done that? However, at that moment, many people were afraid too. After all, the one who had built those buildings had to be an incredibly strong cultivator. They were afraid to offend him. At that moment, a group of people came out of the palace. Those people looked ordinary. They were all ordinary Zune cultivators. They weren't strong cultivators at all. But at that moment, they were carrying a gigantic stone shield. On that gigantic plaque, some words were carved. Those who go will be held responsible for their own actions. The cultivators put the shield above the entrance, and then went back inside. The words contained terrifying sword and immortal meaning. An emperor carved those words, thought the crowd. Then, they looked at those who had put the shield in place and asked, "Who's the owner of that vast palace? We have been hired for this job. We don't know who the owner is. But you should be careful. Don't violate the rules," answered one of them, before continuing into the depths of the palace. The crowd was stupefied. What a mysterious thing. They were all curious. Who had built this building? Jin Chenjun, shouted someone at that moment. The crowd moved aside for the strong cultivator from the Celestial Qi Castle. Jin Chenjun, the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine is here too. At that moment, a middle-aged man arrived as well, an emperor from the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine. The two of them looked at the palace. Jin Chenjun, who do you think the owner of that celestial palace is? Asked the strong cultivator from the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine to Jin Chenjun. We should go in and see, smiled Jin Chenjun. The strong cultivator of the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine smiled back and said, I know you are very strong. You control gold cosmic energy, and you have been protecting the Celestial Qi Castle for such a long time. Therefore, you should go in first. Even emperors are afraid to go in, thought the crowd, shivering despite themselves. Jin Chenjun and the strong cultivator of the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine were both emperors. But they didn't dare go in. What is going on? A new group of people arrived and landed there. The crowd moved away from them cautiously. Jin Chenjun looked happy. The young master was there. Master Yu Chen, said Jin Chenjun, bowing. That person was Jin Chenjun, a direct descendant of the celestial Qi castle. Qi Yu Chen was a genius of the celestial Qi castle. Even though he had lost in battle many times, he had also broken through to the Huang Qi layer. Besides, he had another social status. He was also one of Qingdi Mountain's cultivators. Qingdi Mountain's cultivators had a particular position in the hierarchy of the region, a symbolic social status. They were noble and strong. Qingdi Mountain's cultivators had the potential to become medium-level emperors, or even high-level emperors. Young master, this palace, said Jin Chenjun. Qi Yu Chen shook his head and said, this palace was built in one night using purple meteorites. I know. Jin Chenjun nodded and didn't add anything. Qi Yu Chen walked up to the palace. I am Qi Yu Chen from Qingdi Mountain. I came to greet the owner of the palace. I hope I can see him. Qi Yu Chen didn't say he was from the celestial Qi castle. He said he was from Qingdi Mountain. In this region, nobody dared offend Qingdi Mountain. They were the rulers here. However, nobody replied to Qi Yu Chen. He was initially very self-confident, but his self-confidence was crushed. The atmosphere was completely silent. Qi Yu Chen frowned and shouted furiously, I am Qi Yu Chen from Qingdi Mountain, and I came to see the owner. Come out or I'll come in. The owner must be terrifyingly strong. He dares ignore Qingdi Mountain, thought the astonished crowd. Their hearts were pounding. Qi Yu Chen looked furious and he walked into the corridor and said, since nobody is coming out, I'll go in. How noisy, shouted a mighty voice at that moment. Someone rose up into the air, their silhouette gigantic. Their strength kept exploding in the air around them. An emperor, Jin Chenjun frowned. Finally, an emperor had come out. But it was only a low-level emperor. Are you blind? Said Tantai, releasing more of his qi. Qi Yu Chen also released his qi straight towards Tantai. A golden scroll appeared and surrounded Tantai. Let's see what you can do, said Qi Yu Chen, releasing more and more empty space cosmic energies. He was from the celestial Qi castle in Qingdi Mountain. Who dared cause trouble there? A lion roared, loud enough that the earth and the sky started shaking violently, and millions of lions charged towards Qi Yu Chen. He had the sensation his head was going to explode. Tantai jumped away. He punched out as the lions rained down on him. The gigantic army of lions made the ground shake violently, the earthquake intense. The crowd shivered as they sensed the qi. It was terrifyingly strong. Qi Yu Chen's face changed drastically. His golden scroll surrounded him, and he retreated even further. However, there were lions everywhere. A terrifying strength reached out for him. He raised his hands to protect himself, but the lions kept striking him. Blood splashed and he was sent flying helplessly. Master! Jin Chenjun's face turned deathly pale as he caught Qi Yu Chen. Qi Yu Chen looked extremely weak. He had the sensation that his viscera were destroyed, and his chest was burning. His face had turned gray. Qi Yu Chen had never suffered such a crushing defeat. Even back then when Lin Feng had defeated him, he had also never looked this desperate. He had a great reputation, especially since he had become a cultivator in Qingdi Mountain. People admired him. He was considered a genius. And now, facing another low-level emperor, he hadn't withstood a single attack. The crowd was astonished. The lions were still roaring. How terrifying! How could a low-level emperor be so strong? Is that the leader? What is his social status? Wondered the crowd as they looked at Tantai. Jin Chenjun looked at Tantai and asked, Your Excellency, who are you? Are you the owner of the palace? Who the fuck do you think you are to even talk to me? Fuck off. If anyone dares come here again, I'll crush them, shouted Tantai extremely aggressively. His voice exploded in the air and pierced through people's ears. Then he grunted coldly, turned around, and disappeared in the palace. Jin Chenjun was petrified. He didn't have the right to talk to him. Jin Chenjun understood that he couldn't do much, so he turned around and brought Qi Yu Chen away. The strong cultivator of the palace of the celestial kings of medicine frowned and left at the same time. How many people were there inside the palace? People in the crowd kept talking about this. That person was so strong and terrifying. Those lions had created an earthquake and had an explosive strength. He could even pressure medium-level emperors and had defeated Qi Yu-chun in the blink of an eye. Would the celestial Qi castle react? The news spread quickly through the 9 great celestial castles. Everybody knew that a mysterious palace had suddenly appeared, and that there were terrifying emperors inside. A cultivator from there had totally crushed Qi Yu-chun from Qingdi Mountain. On the second day, more news spread. That palace had created a sect, and they were recruiting disciples. The name of the sect was Tiantai. Tiantai recruited disciples. Their cultivation level didn't matter much. People who weren't emperors yet received low-level imperial scriptures. Low-level emperors received medium-level imperial scriptures. Medium-level emperors received high-level imperial scriptures. The most astonishing thing was that people who became core members of Tiantai also received great imperial scriptures. The news spread quickly and amazed everyone in the 9 great celestial castles. Qingdi Mountain quickly heard about it, and everyone was astonished. Great imperial scriptures were wondrous and rare. In this region, only Qingdi Mountain dared transmit great imperial scriptures, but now if people became core members of Tiantai, they could receive great imperial scriptures. Chapter 1814. Protected in the Celestial Qi Castle. A group of people were at the top of a certain castle. Qi Yu-chun's injuries were already healed, but he wouldn't be able to use his full strength for a while. His face was long, unable to forget the humiliation. A descendant of the Celestial Qi Castle, a Qingdi Mountain cultivator. He was considered a great cultivator here. But surprisingly, this new palace had appeared. A strong cultivator had come out and injured him. He had suffered a crushing defeat. Emperor Dong, Tiantai used to be a powerful group in the small world. Isn't there a problem? A middle-aged man asked Emperor Dong coldly. Emperor Dong had only one arm left. Back then, Lin Feng had thrown a talisman at him, and he had lost an arm, which he still couldn't recover. He knew that Celestial Qi Castle wouldn't waste resources to help him. Emperor Dong was furious. He hated Lin Feng. But unfortunately back then, Lin Feng had managed to escape, and he had gone to Yaoyi Island. Qi Yunsheng and Qi Yunlei had been killed by members of Yaoyi Island. He still remembered those events perfectly. On that day, the leaders of the 9 great celestial castles had not shown up. Emperor Nai Chun had been forced to leave. Lin Feng had taken Yuan Fei and the others away from them. And now a new palace had appeared, and they had created a new group, Tiantai, in the 9 great celestial castles buffer zone. Emperor Dong was surprised at their daring. In the small world, there was a Tiantai, and Lin Feng was a member of Tiantai, but they only had Zoom cultivators back then. Even their 2 emperors weren't that strong. One of them was a medium-level emperor, and the other was a low-level emperor. Even after a few years, they couldn't possibly have become much stronger. They even give great imperial scriptures to core members. I don't think it can be the same. They are definitely different, guessed Emperor Dong. The middle-aged man's eyes were glittering. He looked at Qi Yu-chun and asked, Yu-chun, how strong was the cultivator you fought, and what skills did he use? He's very strong. When he shouts, heaven and earth shake violently. He also punched out and lions appeared. His cultivation skills and techniques are incredible. Even in Qingdi Mountain, there aren't many people who could deal with such cultivators. And even those who could are probably core disciples. I don't think it's the same Tiantai you mentioned. They just happen to have the same name, agreed Qi Yu-chun. But Tiantai built their palace in the buffer zone, so we have to be careful, said the middle-aged man. This Tiantai was truly mysterious. They had appeared in a single night. They didn't even know who was inside. This was a dangerous time. Should we inform the leader of the castle? Emperor Dong asked in a low voice. The middle-aged man looked at Emperor Dong coldly, without saying anything. Emperor Dong lowered his head and shivered to himself. If we tell the leader about this, he'll think we're pieces of trash, the man eventually answered icily. Emperor Dong pulled a long face. He was being scolded like a teenager. Find some emperors and send them to Tiantai to see what's inside, said the middle-aged man. The others nodded. This was an emergency. The Celestial Qi Castle wasn't the only group who thought of doing that. Tiantai had appeared so suddenly, so the 9 great celestial castles had to find out who they were. Since Tiantai was recruiting people, why not seize that opportunity to go in and explore Tiantai? In the following days, more and more people headed to the buffer zone. The stream of them was endless. Tiantai refused nobody. All the newcomers were sent to the same courtyard. The recruiters were Qin Wu Wu and Tantai. They were naturally all strangers to the 9 great celestial castles. Since Tiantai is recruiting people, why do we have to wait here? Someone asked Qin Wu. That person was getting impatient. He was also an emperor. He had come to get ancient scriptures. He wasn't interested in Tiantai, unless Tiantai was powerful enough to make him rise as a cultivator. Please be patient. We're organizing everything. You are the one decided to join us, replied Qin Wu calmly. We've already been waiting for half a day. How long do we still have to wait? Can you tell us precisely? Asked someone else. Qin Wu frowned and smiled coldly. He already knew that some people would be annoying. We are recruiting people. We're not recruiting grandpas. If you don't want to wait, you can leave, replied Qin Wu coldly. Many people groaned in aggravation. We are already here. How could we leave? You must tell us why we're waiting, or at least, give us the ancient scriptures you promised, someone else demanded. Indeed. You think you can make us leave when you wish? You're insane. Someone else spoke up. The crowd was getting really impatient. I've never seen such conceited disciples. Tantai swore loudly. Wu stared at those people, his eyes filled with burning suns. He didn't want to deal with these things, but since he had lost against Lin Feng back then, he had to obey his orders. However, Lin Feng didn't care about these people. I just have one thing to tell you. If you don't want to be part of Tiantai, then leave. Nobody is forcing you to stay here. If anyone talks shit again, I'll kill them. Wu promised emotionlessly. The crowd frowned. The Zun cultivators remained silent, of course. Among the people who really wanted ancient scriptures, there were also people who didn't mind waiting, especially if Tiantai was that strong. In the future, they'd be able to compete with the 9 great celestial castles. Cultivators didn't mind waiting for a few days for such things. How arrogant! An emperor responded coldly. Bzzz. Wu threw himself at that cultivator like a meteorite. That cultivator's face changed drastically as he retreated, but he couldn't compete with Wu in terms of speed. Wu immediately grabbed him with his claws and shrieked into his face as it started raining fireballs. The crowd saw that person's body being torn apart, and then the cosmic energies dispersed. The people there were astonished. He had killed an emperor in the blink of an eye. These people are terrifyingly strong. They seem much stronger than others of the same level, thought some emperors. Tiantai was a powerful group, if their low-level emperors were this strong. Low-level emperors from the region couldn't withstand a single attack against them. Even Qingdi mountain cultivators like Qi Yuchun. The most terrifying part was that these people were also very cruel. They didn't care. They just killed emperors if they wanted. And they disrespected people like Qi Yuchun. Up in the air, Wu was surrounded by flames. He glanced at the crowd icily and asked, "Is anyone else unhappy? I'll kill them." The rest remained silent, not daring to provoke him. He had just butchered an emperor like a child. In the region of the 9 great celestial castles, emperors were very strong cultivators, but in the animal world, emperors were ordinary people. I would like to warn everyone, if you want to join Tiantai because you harbor evil intentions, then piss off. Otherwise, when the time comes, you won't have time to escape. Qin Wu promised grimly. The undercover agents who had been sent by the 9 great celestial castles were very nervous, as expected if Qin Wu knew that there were such people among the applicants. But they couldn't leave, as they had to obey orders and find out who the leader of Tiantai was. A silhouette finally glided in. It was a beautiful woman, Qing Feng. Wu, bring them. Tantai and Qin Wu, stay here and have the next ones wait here, ordered Qing Feng. Qing Feng turned to the crowd and said, "Come with me." The crowd followed Qing Feng quickly, wondering what kind of exam would they have to take. In Tiantai's long corridors, the applicants glanced around. Many people were waiting. How could they become core disciples? And would they really receive great imperial scriptures? After having waited for such a long time, it had become dark outside, but the crowd didn't leave. On the day after, the sun rose again, and they were still waiting. Someone is coming. The crowd saw many people running quickly. They were carrying a corpse. What was going on? Is that person dead? They had no chi, thought the crowd, frowning at the sight. Very quickly, those people went outside and threw the corpse on the ground. Our brother told us to tell you. Tell the 9 great celestial castles to stop sending undercover agents. Otherwise we'll kill them all. Those people said that to the crowd, and then left again. The crowd was astonished. Those who were undercover agents in the crowd shook inside. Those corpses were from their groups. Tiantai dared kill their people. Chapter 1815. Tiantai's growth. The crowd didn't leave, calmly looking at the palace, but that calm gave people a sensation of suffocation. Apart from corpses, the others had disappeared. Nobody came out. What are the people in Tiantai doing? Thought the crowd. Tiantai was so mysterious. They were afraid of what was going on. At that moment, in the palaces of Tiantai, there was a secret room. In the secret room, there were many talismans. Those talismans contained lots of skills and techniques. When people saw those talismans and saw that people had been killed, they didn't feel like leaving anymore. Before that, they had thought they could come, take some ancient scriptures and leave. But now it was different. Those skills and techniques were too powerful, their existence too explosive. Even though they weren't Qingdi Mountain's cultivators, and they had never been there, they knew that the disciples of Qingdi Mountain didn't have such powerful techniques. And that was only the beginning. Those young people were unbelievably strong. At the same level, they could easily destroy their opponents. They even had great imperial scriptures. Very excited now, the newcomers continued waiting. However, the newcomers could only become external disciples, no matter what their cultivation level was. They had to go through security checks to become internal disciples. If they became internal disciples, they could still obtain great imperial scriptures. Apart from external and internal disciples, Tiantai also had core disciples. They were the equivalent of elders in some sections. They had access to incredible skills and techniques. In a palace inside the complex, Lin Feng and the others were seated. Lin Feng asked Jun Emoshi, "Emoshi, your hell technique is so strange they have nowhere to escape. It attacks people's determination, but those whose determination is stronger than mine are not affected," said Jun Emoshi with a quiet smile. "Lin Feng, you think promising things to them will be sufficient for them to be loyal? In the world of cultivation, people do what is best for them. If we have nothing to offer, why would they join Tiantai? They will leave if we give nothing to them. If they obtain things, they'll want more, and they'll contribute to Tiantai's history," Lin Feng said calmly. Lin Feng is right. Besides, they can't possibly be like us. We're like brothers. What we want is social order, not loyalty, nodded Ho Ching Lin. "So what do we do next?" asked Yuan Fei, his eyes gleaming with cold lights. He really wanted to go to the Celestial Qi Castle and kill them. They had enslaved him. "No rush. We'll deal with the Celestial Qi Castle when the right time comes," said Lin Feng grimly. Even though all 9 great celestial castles wanted to control small worlds, there were some groups they wanted to destroy above all, especially the Celestial Qi Castle. Apart from the Celestial Qi Castle, they also wanted to kill the white-bearded old man of the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine, a medium-level emperor. Lin Feng remembered that old man perfectly, and really wanted to kill him. He had made his teacher kneel down. Lin Feng had to destroy the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine. In the following days, nothing major happened in Tiantai. It was very calm. However, in different rooms there were more and more people. Those were the newcomers. More and more people wanted to join. Some people wanted to join because they were curious, or because they wanted to obtain ancient scriptures. However, after joining Tiantai, people didn't come out again. The atmosphere was very calm. The crowd also noticed that 2 medium-level emperors had joined Tiantai. They had stayed in there and hadn't come out. The people were astounded. Tiantai was still expanding. New buildings appeared each morning, and they were bigger and bigger. A fog also started appearing around Tiantai. People had the impression they were looking at an illusion when they looked at Tiantai's buildings. The crowd understood that there was a powerful deployment spell caster in Tiantai. They remembered the purple meteorites that had been purchased. Those were very useful for deployment spells. They had thought of everything when building Tiantai. Now the buildings were protected by incredibly powerful deployment spells. This mysterious group called Tiantai was quickly rising. Even the 9 great celestial castles weren't protected by deployment spells. And now that the people were starting to pay attention to Tiantai, even the leaders of the 9 great celestial castles couldn't continue ignoring them. Today, many people gathered in the buffer zone. This time, people had come from everywhere, including many medium-level emperors. Celestial Qi Castle asked us to come here. Why? Asked a strong cultivator from the Celestial Wind Castle, looking at a middle-aged man from the Celestial Qi Castle. These days, the one in charge of foreign affairs in the Celestial Qi Castle was Qi Yinlin. Back then, Qi Yunsheng had been killed by cultivators from Yaoyi Island, and then Qi Yinlei's cultivation had been crippled, so Qi Yinlin had started rising. He was very strong and had oppressed Qi Yinshao. As if you didn't know, brother, when Tiantai is rising. You don't mind? Said Qi Yinlin indifferently. Qi Yuchun is one of the Qingdi Mountains cultivators, and he was attacked. You're very patient, you let them rise, retorted the strong cultivator of Celestial Wind Castle, smiling calmly. Qi Yinlin's eyes flashed angrily. The strong cultivator of the Celestial Wind Castle was making fun of him. However, he quickly controlled himself and replied indifferently, Tiantai is rising. It's a problem for all of us. Besides, they're mysterious. Don't you all feel nervous with them around? Brother Qi, what do you think we should do then? Asked the white-bearded man from the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine. He was the strong cultivator who had made Emperor Yu kneel down. He had a high social status within the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine. I also want to know what you intend to do, Brother Qi, spoke up Zhou Tianshao, Zhou Tianrua's older brother. He was very talented and quite strong. He had broken through to the Huang Qi layer a long time ago. His cosmic energies were already level 8. And he was getting closer and closer to becoming a medium-level emperor. Many people said that he'd become a medium-level emperor within 10 years. The Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness attached much importance to Zhou Tianshao. Since Tiantai established their group in the buffer zone of the 9 great celestial castles, we can't just sit by and watch. We have to do something, we have to go there, and understand the details. After that we can decide what we want to do. What do you think? Proposed Qi Yinlin. The strong cultivator of the Celestial Wind Castle smiled and said, I've always known you were a careful person, Qi Yinlin. I had thought you'd go there directly and kill people, since they humiliated you. Qi Yinlin didn't care about what the strong cultivator from the Celestial Wind Castle said. Tiantai was a mysterious group, and nobody knew anything about them. They couldn't possibly go there alone. I think Brother Qi is right. Tiantai is mysterious, and I think everybody still remembers Lin Feng? Spoke up a strong cultivator from the Celestial Sikong Castle at that moment. Everybody remained silent. They all remembered Lin Feng. Back then, the Celestial Qi Castle had failed to kill him. Emperor Anichen had personally come, and still Lin Feng had managed to escape with the help of Yaoyi Island's cultivators. In Lin Feng's small world, Tiantai existed and he was a member of that group, said the strong cultivator from Celestial Sikong Castle. People's eyes lit up. What you mean is that Lin Feng is back? Asked someone else. Maybe. We need to understand what's going on to ensure our safety, replied the strong cultivator from Celestial Sikong Castle. Everybody understood what he meant. This place was their territory, and now Tiantai was rising here. It was dangerous, especially if they kept growing. In around 10 days, they had already become quite large. I agree, stated the strong cultivator from the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness. Everybody nodded. Since everybody agrees, let's send some people to Tiantai, said Qi Yinlin. Everybody agreed. The 9 great celestial castles wanted to join hands. Even if Tiantai was mysterious, they had to give the 9 castles face. Chapter 1816. Chatting Tiantai was mysterious and powerful, and their territory was now surrounded by fog. Even though they had risen in a short time, nobody knew anything about them, so nobody acted recklessly. However, today the people of the 9 great celestial castles had finally arrived at a decision. This time, the 9 great celestial castles joined hands. Some medium-level emperors, dozens of low-level emperors, and a bunch of cultivators at the top of the Zunqi layer gathered and surrounded Tiantai. People's hearts were pounding. They understood that the 9 great celestial castles were finally going to do something. How could they let Tiantai settle there? This was their territory. They were like kings here. The buffer zone was their market. And now, a powerful new group had invaded their buffer zone and settled there. Now their challengers were rising, so they had to do something. They were finally about to do something about it. The masses had thought they'd react much earlier though, but Tiantai was extremely powerful. They had to be cautious. At this moment, the entrance of Tiantai looked like an illusion. There was only fog. What a powerful deployment spell, thought Zhou Tianxiao staring at the mists. Luckily, it's just an illusion deployment spell. If it were a destructive deployment spell, it would pose a threat to a medium-level emperor, said a strong cultivator of the celestial summer castle. There were all sorts of deployment spellcasters. Some people knew illusion deployment spells, some others knew empty space deployment spells, and some extremely strong deployment spellcasters also controlled several sorts of deployment spells. Back then, Lin Feng understood deployment spells, and here is Tiantai, mused the strong cultivator of Celestial Wen Castle, smiling indifferently. The members of the Celestial Qi Castle frowned. Did that really have something to do with Lin Feng? Lin Feng had left for a few years only, and at that time, he hadn't even broken through to the Huang Qi layer yet. Could he be that strong? Could Lin Feng have incredible great imperial scriptures? Could he buy extremely expensive, almost priceless materials? Impossible. Let's go inside and we'll see, Zhou Tianxiao answered patiently. Then he shouted, "The 9 great celestial castles have come here to greet the leader of Tiantai." His voice spread through all the buildings of Tiantai. For an answer, a group of people came out and glanced at the members of the 9 great celestial castles. They said nothing though. They just watched them calmly. "Everybody, may we enter?" asked a strong cultivator of the Celestial Qi Castle, when he saw that those people weren't speaking. He was unhappy. Those people were just cultivators of the Zunqi layer. Usually such people respected him, but these people didn't. "If you have an invitation," replied one of them, glancing at the crowd dismissively. The strong cultivator of the Celestial Qi Castle was infuriated. "Damn it! The 9 great celestial castles are here, and you dare act so arrogantly," shouted the strong cultivator of the Celestial Qi Castle, angry now. He was so loud that everybody could hear him in the palaces of Tiantai. "Tiantai hasn't invited you. If you're not happy, then you can leave," one of those people retorted impolitely. The strong cultivator of the Celestial Qi Castle was getting angrier. He was about to explode. "Who do you think you are talking to? You're bullying our disciples. If the people of the Celestial Qi Castle take one step into Tiantai, they'll die, no exception," said another person at that moment. Everybody heard the voice. The onlookers were petrified. How aggressive and arrogant. The members of the Celestial Qi Castle couldn't go to Tiantai anymore. Someone was threatening the Celestial Qi Castle in the buffer zone of their own region. What a humiliation. The faces of the Celestial Qi Castle members changed drastically. They all looked incredibly angry. People from the Celestial Summer Castle, from the Ancient Celestial Castle, and from the Celestial Transformation Palace. "Please come in," spoke out yet another voice. People's eyes glittered. Tiantai had invited the Celestial Transformation Palace, the Celestial Summer Castle, and the Ancient Celestial Castle to come in, but not the members of the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness, the Palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine, and the Celestial Wen Castle. Concerning the Celestial Qi Castle, there wasn't much to say. "You're invited," said the visible members of Tiantai, watching the members of the 3 groups. They were happy to go and see what was inside. Those who hadn't been invited frowned and pulled long faces. The people invited by Tiantai disappeared inside the palaces. "We came to greet you and you humiliate us," shouted the strong cultivator of the Celestial Qi Castle furiously. "Keep calm. When they come out, they'll tell us everything," said the strong cultivator of the Celestial Wind Castle calmly. He wasn't angry. The members of the three groups who had been invited walked in the corridors and arrived at a courtyard where a banquet had been prepared. They looked to the young man who had the best seat. His chi was extremely sharp. On his left and right there were more young people, and they looked incredibly strong too. One of them was incredibly tall and sturdy, built like a tower. Even though they are only low-level emperors, they look really strong. They must be from very famous clans, thought the group, who controlled Tiantai. Why did all those young people look so extraordinary? "Everybody, please have a seat," said Qin Wu, standing up. The guests sat down without fuss. "You all came to Tiantai for a reason, I guess? Please, feel free to talk to us about anything," said Qin Wu before he sat down again. "Sorry for being rude, but why did you come here? And why did you build Tiantai in the buffer zone of our territory?" asked someone from the Celestial Summer Castle straightforwardly. He didn't need to dance around what they wanted either. "Let me explain," interjected Wu. He glanced at the crowd, his eyes filled with burning suns, and continued, "I am not interested in knowing why you came here. However, we invited you, and there are a few things you need to understand clearly. First, Tiantai is here and will stay here, and we will also expand. Secondly, Tiantai will also fight against some of the 9 great celestial castles, but it can be avoided. Thirdly, Tiantai has determined some rules not only concerning this place, but also concerning the different small worlds." As Wu talked, people's hearts started pounding. Weren't they going too far? "Don't talk too hastily." Wu raised his hand, then he continued, "I will not repeat those 3 things. Now you can make a decision. You can be friends with us, or you can be our enemies. You are free to make your own decisions. You don't need to tell me anything either. Just remember what I said." How arrogant, thought the guests. They had never met someone this arrogant. "All right, let's enjoy the banquet. You can leave whenever you want. Keep in mind that people who were not invited aren't able to enjoy this banquet." Wu stood up and left. The crowd was stupefied at his behavior. "Everybody, he has a very bad temper. Sorry about that, but he's right. People who weren't invited won't even have the opportunity to drink with us," Tiantai said cheerfully, laughing happily. "Everybody, come, let's drink." The crowd had many thoughts, but they couldn't refuse drinking with Tiantai. Wu had told them they could make their own decisions. They could leave if they wanted to. "Oh, by the way, who's Tiantai's leader?" asked someone else, putting their glass back on the table. Tiantai and Qin Wu smiled, and Tiantai said, "Tiantai's leaders are its members. We are all like brothers. Besides, I can tell you one thing. Nobody has a high cultivation level in Tiantai, but we managed to build Tiantai here. I can also tell you something. The one who initiated the construction project isn't a stranger. You know him. He doesn't consider you as his enemies. You can decide whether you want to be his friend or his enemy." Qin Wu smiled. Then they both stood up and said, "Help yourselves." Then Tiantai and Qin Wu left. However, people's hearts were pounding. They knew the one who had initiated the project. "It's Lin Feng, he's back." Xia Tianfan had also come into the palace. He was the first one to break the silence. The crowd shivered. Lin Feng had caused much trouble in Celestial Qi Castle back then. He was back, and he had created a new group here. When the members of the 3 groups left Tiantai, the others' groups surrounded them with questions, but those people just smiled and glanced at them. They said absolutely nothing and left quickly. The people left outside was astonished. As they people left, those outside heard a voice which from inside Tiantai. "Tiantai has a message for Celestial Wind Castle, Celestial Seakong Castle, the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness, and the Celestial Palace of the Punishing Thunders. If you want to go to Tiantai, send your leaders. Regarding the Celestial Qi Castle and the Palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine, they said you could piss off." Chapter 1817. Forcing the way. If the 4 groups wanted to go to Tiantai, they had to send their leaders. Celestial Qi Castle and the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine could piss off. The crowd understood something now. The three groups who had been to Tiantai had been treated properly and politely, which was why they had said nothing and had directly left. Something else tomorrow at noon. Tiantai will go to the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine. Another voice rang out. The strong cultivators of the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine suddenly looked both furious and nervous. All right, the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine will be happy to receive Tiantai. A strong cultivator of the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine spoke up after remaining silent for a few seconds. They couldn't wait to see who Tiantai's cultivators were. Tiantai was now surrounded by an illusion deployment spell, so they couldn't go inside to kill people. But if Tiantai's people came to their territory, then it was another story. Let's go. The strong cultivators of the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine left. Other people started leaving too. The strong cultivators of the Celestial Qi Castle glanced at Tiantai coldly one last time, and also departed. The strong cultivators of the Celestial Wind Castle also glanced at Tiantai, their eyes gleaming. Since Tiantai was behaving differently depending on who they were, it meant that they really had something to do with the 9 great celestial castles. Tiantai was very polite to the Celestial Transformation Palace, the Celestial Summer Castle, and the Ancient Celestial Castle. Tiantai wasn't polite to Celestial Wind Castle, Celestial Seakong Castle, and so on. They asked them to send their leaders. And finally, Celestial Qi Castle and the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine were told to piss off. That wasn't even being impolite. That was a provocation. Considering the circumstances, the strong cultivator of the Celestial Wind Castle had the feeling that Lin Feng had something to do with them. However, they still had doubts, because Lin Feng couldn't have become that strong so quickly, could he? Tiantai had said they would go and visit the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine tomorrow at noon. What would happen? What would they do? Everybody. It seems that we have to inform Qingdi Mountain, said the strong cultivator of Celestial Wind Castle indifferently. The others left immediately, understanding that they had to inform their sovereign. Tiantai was mysterious, so they didn't try anything dangerous. They had to be careful, especially now that there was an illusion deployment spell around Tiantai's palaces now. They would need to wait and see. The news that Tiantai was going to the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine on the morrow quickly spread throughout the 9 great celestial castles. Many people started going to the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine to enjoy the spectacle. The members of the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine also informed their leaders. Some strong cultivators started gathering in the buffer zone at the entrance to the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine. They were going to see what Tiantai was going to do to them. The next day, the sun was shining and at its highest. Although it was quite warm, some people were getting chills. Many strong cultivators were here now, heading to the buffer zone of the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine. At the entrance of the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine, the atmosphere was lively. Inside the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine, outside of a building, a white-bearded emperor in white clothes looked at the sky. The sun was at its highest. He frowned and gazed into the distance coldly. It was almost time. Tiantai was going to arrive soon. Master, you were not here yesterday, but Tiantai humiliated the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine. They invited Celestial Summer Castle and 2 others inside, but they didn't invite Celestial Wind Castle and some others. However, they said the Celestial Qi Castle and the palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine could piss off. They also said they'd visit us. They're extremely arrogant. A strong cultivator reported coldly. I know, the white-bearded emperor answered calmly. Today we have 6 medium-level emperors. We also have 18 low-level emperors, and I'm here too. We'll see if they are strong enough to compete with such an army. If Tiantai bluffed, they're going to die here. Apart from that little boy back then, I've never seen anyone that arrogant, someone else observed. The white-bearded emperor smiled coldly and asked, Yi Si, when will Yi Sheng arrive? Don't worry. After Yi Sheng's defeat, he was so sad that he went to a dozen small worlds and gathered experience. After breaking through to the Huangqi layer, he came back and went to Qingdi Mountain. He's practicing cultivation really hard there. Emperor Nai Chun thinks that he's even stronger than Qi Yuchun and Zhou Tianrua. Yi Sheng can even compete with Wen Ao Feng. I told him to come back. He's going to come back with friends from Qingdi Mountain. They're all low-level emperors at least. Even if Tiantai is strong, they can't do anything to us. Qingdi Mountain's strong cultivators are incredible. They can probably kill those people. I'm not worried with you, the white-bearded emperor said indifferently. All the emperors around him smiled coldly. With Qingdi Mountain's cultivators, there was even less risk. Tiantai was going to be destroyed soon. At that moment, people raised their heads and gazed into the distance. It was about time. In the distance, a strong cultivator wearing white clothes appeared. He looked clean and simple. On his clothes, there was a Tiantai logo, a gigantic palace with an endless flight of stairs which rose to the skies. People's eyes locked on him. So many strong cultivators. 30 emperors. They recruited more than 30 emperors in such a short time? Incredible, thought the crowd. They were stupefied. But there were also more than 100 cultivators of the top of the Zunqi layer with them. And they were dragging a gigantic tank. The tank was purple and dazzling, made of purple meteorites. There were 9 dragons around it. Some people rode them. They looked majestic and imposing. There were also blurry silhouettes in the tank, as if they were in a deployment spell. Tiantai was still so mysterious. Nobody knew who or how many people there were in the tank. These people still looked so unfathomable and enigmatic. There were more and more people. The emperors of Tiantai were leading the way. Finally, they landed on the main road. They're here. Everybody had been waiting. However, when those people landed, people were suddenly covered with cold sweat. The qi of Tiantai's cultivators was terrifying. Did they want to destroy the palace of the celestial kings of medicine? If Tiantai wasn't strong, would they have invaded the city? Would they have come to the palace of the celestial kings of medicine like this? In the palace of the celestial kings of medicine, people rose up in the air. However, they didn't dare prevent Tiantai's cultivators from moving forwards. The dragons and the tank continued moving forwards. How audacious, thought the white-bearded emperor, his facial expression changing drastically as he saw that army. Tiantai's people were arrogant. Even when the leaders of the 9 castles traveled, they never did things like this. Tiantai was crazy. Stop, shouted the white-bearded emperor extremely loudly. Silhouettes rose up in the air. More than 20 emperors, including 6 medium-level emperors. They all looked extremely strong. If Tiantai dared act that arrogantly, well, the palace of the celestial kings of medicine was going to show them. Tiantai's emperors, the dragons, and the tank all stopped. They were still surrounded by fog though, and nobody could see who was in the tank, or how many people there were inside. Since you're already here, in the palace of the celestial kings of medicine, why do you keep hiding? You should show your face. The white-bearded emperor snorted coldly. He couldn't see through the fog either. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.